This is the Board of County Commissioners agenda setting for the work session that leads up to the 2 o'clock Board of County Commissioners meeting. So I had this master agenda, and we have several agendas we'll go through. And we'll start off with 30 October as far as the specific agenda on this one. And we'll ask Commissioner Hutchings to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we'll approve the agenda if it's not revised. And board meeting minutes for 16 October 2018. We have two presentations today. One of them is from the Timberland Regional Library, and I think Cheryl Haywood, the director of the Timberland Regional Library, will be here to do that. Is that correct?
Yep, and that is the yearly update that she comes and provides to the board, the wonderful things the Timberline Regional Library does.
And she usually brings a representative from each one of the libraries.
Yep.
Well, it's a positive spin, and I don't mean that in a negative way, because they're revamping their business model and what they're to be doing. So it'll be an interesting briefing that she gives.
Yeah, absolutely.
Presentation.
Yeah, she's always very engaging.
Yes, she is.
She's
very engaging.
She is such a lovely lady, Canny. Very smart.
Yeah.
My gosh, very smart.
All righty. And then we have another presentation from the Sheriff, John Snaza, on the 2018 Champion of Children awardee. And what is that about?
This is actually an award that the Thurston County Fight Crime, Invest in Kids will be presented to the Board of County Commissioners for the 2018 Champions for Children's Award and their support and their effort. And Sheriff Snaza will come and give additional explanation to that, and I believe Shelley Slater will be attending as well.
Yes, and all of the nurse family.
Yeah, you gotta come to the microphone, sorry.
Good morning, no problem. Good morning.
Good morning.
And yes, all of the nurses from the Nurse Family Partnership Program.
Okay.
We can hear you now.
You can hear me now?
Yeah.
I've heard you before.
Good morning. Shelley Slater, Thurston County Public and Social Services Director for the Champion for Children Award.
Hang on, time. What?
It just turned itself off.
No, I did it.
Just let me say it turned it. It did it. It did it on its own. Testing, testing.
Okay, got it. Sorry.
Cut.
Technical.
Take 4.
Yeah.
Good morning. For the Champion for Children's Award, all of the nurses from Nurse Family Partnership will be here to accept the award. We also have a cake that we'll be offering immediately after the meeting.
Oh, cake.
Yes.
Nice.
So I know the sheriff will talk about fight crime and invest in kids, and this is more geared towards the Nurse Family Partnership. Can you just elaborate what Nurse Family Partnership is?
Yes.
And what it does for the community?
And
what
the
have you?
Nexus.
And the Nexus is what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yes. So this award is to Thurston County in recognition of your investment in the Nurse Family Partnership Program, which partners nurses with vulnerable families that are both first-time mothers and have multiple children during pregnancy up to 18 months old. And our nurses, specifically Gretchen Toller, who is the manager of the program, has showcased the efforts of the Nurse Family Partnership, which is one of the leading programs in the state and in the country, to many advocates that has resulted in increased funding for home visiting for families and kids throughout the state of Washington.
Okay. Right.
So it's a really huge honor to be selected as the only program in the state for this award.
Fantastic. Any questions? No?
I look forward to it.
Yep.
Okay,
Super.
thank you.
So after that, we have the opportunity for the public to address the board.
Yeah, I believe you may have some members of the public who might be coming, and at least the one that I know of may be providing some testimony related to some electioneering that occurred last Tuesday. And I think you were part of that interaction with one of the members of the public. So you might be receiving public testimony related to that event.
By any chance, is that where you asked us to leave the room? Is that what you're referring to?
Yes,
Okay.
that instance.
Okay.
Any comments, questions?
Nope.
All right, here we go to item number 2, which is the county manager's update. Do you have anything you want to do a preamble or anything right now?
Yes. As part of my update, I will have 2 items for you. You requested to have a PSC representative come, and that will give you an opportunity to say thank you
Oh, yeah,
for
that's
their
right.
support when we lost power. And really, we, considering the circumstances in which we lost power and the amount of work involved in that, PSC and their subconsultant, Patoco, were remarkably helpful. So Kelsey Helsley will be coming this afternoon. I have a letter ready for you for your signature, and that will
Okay.
give you an opportunity to say thank you to PSC. And also, I would like to walk you through all the public as to some of the activities that you did in the last 2 weeks related to the budget, and maybe laying out what are the next steps for the remainder of the year, so the public knows what the process is in terms of the schedule.
Any comments or questions? Nope.
Nope, thank you.
Anything else, Romero?
Nope.
Okay, we're going to move on to the consent items, and consent items A through E. And so the first one is a resolution adopting a new classification for a rights-of-way agent, Agent 3.
Yeah, this is, at least from my point of view, a long time coming, and the Director of Public Works, Jennifer Walker, has worked with Human Resources to develop a specific classification to align the work the real estate agents do in acquiring property. So this classification creates 3 different levels. It's the right-of-way agent 1, right-of-way agent 2, and right-of-way agent 3. And each one of those has a salary range of the first one, right-of-way agent 1, of $3,754 to $4,860, right-of-way agent 2, $4,664 to $6,203, and right-of-way agent 3, $5,142 to $6,839. There are currently 3 positions. They're doing this work. As a result of this proposal, 2 positions will be reclassified from the current engineering technician 2 to a right-of-way agent 2, and that realignment will require no salary changes. So there's no salary increases on that. There is one right-of-way agent in that particular position will be reclassified to a right-of-way agent 2, and that will represent a $326 a month or 5% increase. So the salary will go from to $6,839. And this particular alignment, I think it makes sense from the business point of view. And any increases on the salary will be covered by the road fund as well as the solid waste fund if needed. No general fund included.
All right. All right. Item 3B also is from Public Works. It's a resolution adopting a new classification for a senior right-of-way agent to a real estate services manager.
Yeah, that will be the next step in terms of the previous item. In this particular request is to reclassify the manager of that particular unit from a real estate services manager to a senior right-of-way agent. From a senior right-of-way agent to a real estate service manager. And this particular increase will represent an increase from $7,396 to $7,934 a month, about $538 a month, or 7.3% increase. And again, those will be covered by the road fund and the solid waste fund. Now, just by the sheer nature of changing the classification and the change in salaries, that doesn't mean that individual will be going to that scale. It's just the range changes.
Range change.
Yeah.
Any comments, questions?
Eventually, it will happen.
Eventually, yeah.
I'm good.
Good.
Is this a retention issue?
I think it's both as a retention issue as well as just really start aligning the activities of those individuals do with the real classification. Because right now, a couple of those individuals I mentioned, they have an engineering technician 2 classification. They don't do engineering technician work, and that is probably some of the gaps in there.
All right.
Yep.
Sure. Let's go to 3C, which is from Public Health and Social Services. And this is also increasing from a full-time equivalency position of .075 to 1.0 full-time employee Social Services Program Assistant is the
Yeah,
title.
this particular request is related to an additional workload the public health and social services have been incurring, and is going from a 0.575 FTE to a full-time FTE. And this is related to the program's contract, which includes the preparation, maintenance, compliance, and amendments to all the contracts the public health and social services do related to programs as well as grants. There is no impact on the general fund. No additional budget authority is required, and I believe that is going to be covered under the current budget allocation of the Public Health and Social Services Department.
Go ahead.
Just for the public's edification, I just want to verify that none of these consent items are based on the preliminary budget that's been done.
No.
Okay, or predicated on any decisions made yet.
Oh,
Okay,
no
good.
budget.
Just want to be sure that people know that.
That's a
current
good
budget.
clarification,
Thank you.
Commissioners, because at this point, you're not making any decisions for the
Can't,
2019,
not allowed by law.
2020.
No, I know that. Yeah, I know that. Thank you.
Okay, well, that's a good point. Let's go to 3D, which is from Emergency Services. Oh, would you go with that?
I'm good with it.
You go with it? Okay, good. Emergency Services is 3D, amend purchase price of medic unit gurneys.
Yeah.
And I'll let you talk to that.
So maybe 3 months ago, the board approved the purchase of the Power Pro ambulance cots, and the total cost that you approved was $478,042.12. However, during the purchasing process, the cost increase of the same units by $1,687.63. So the new purchase price is $479,729.75. So the request is for you to authorize an additional $1,687.63. Also, this amendment, to avoid any future increases, allows the Director of Emergency Services to approve any amendments that goes up to 15% of the current amount.
Well, I have a question, but it's going to need Kurt to come to the microphone.
These are not your average gurneys, are they?
These are not your average gurneys, that's correct. These are the power gurneys that were...
Identify yourself, sir.
Oh, so Kurt Harden, Director of Emergency Services. These are the power gurneys that we purchased for all the medic units. What it does is it saves on L&I claims because Medic One pays 100% disability for L&I claims. And so we anticipate reducing our L&I claims significantly with these power gurneys. Unfortunately, we're a society that seems to be getting larger as we get older. And so what happens with the non-power gurneys is you can only have so many firefighters to get around the gurney and lift it, and some people require heavier lifting than others.
I understand the need for this, but here's where I come from, my frame of mind. I dicker on everything. And so I don't know if there's competition out there, but if they're willing to sacrifice almost $500,000 on a $1,000 bet because it's increased, I'd be pushing that limit. And I don't know if that's an available option or not.
This is purchased off the GSA contract, and so therefore that's the cut price that the federal government negotiates for GSA rates. And so what we had done was the price just, we had two different AISs that went through for this budget year. And so all the gurneys are being purchased out of this budget year, but since there were two different AISs, the price jumped up a little bit, $1,600 on one of the gurneys.
But
And that's negotiated by the federal government.
To answer your question, there is not a possibility to negotiate the contract.
Not even a possibility.
No, because the other option would have been for the county to go through a normal bidding process, which that would have taken a long time. By going under this contract, the prices are already negotiated for us.
Okay. Because I'm not cheap, but I'm thrifty. So and I'm the same way with the taxpayers' dollars. If I can save any money, I can. But that makes sense. I appreciate that.
We've been going through this process for approximately 3 months and trying to find out how we can get around it, and we can not get around it, bring the price back down, and we can't. So this is our only option.
All right.
Anything else? I like your tie, by the way, Kurt.
Thank you.
Explain, what's it mean? Anything?
I unfortunately decided to enter into an agreement with the Director of Public Defense over a football game.
Oh, over a
And
football
so,
game.
so therefore,
What game was that?
since my team does better at academics than athletics,
Oh.
I have to wear his team's tie. And however, since I put the tie on, I've had a sudden urge to apply for fast food jobs.
What colors are they?
Yeah.
Red and black.
There you go.
Brother Patrick is listening to this.
Thank you, sir.
That was good.
Okay, moving on to 3E, which is the Auditor's Financial Services.
That's your weekly approval of the voucher list.
Okay, any questions on that? Did you have any questions on the Kurt thing either?
No, I
No, okay, you're over there writing. Moving on to department items. Item number 4, which is from the Sheriff's Office, is to set a public hearing to amend Thurston County Ordinance Chapters 12.04 and 12.61 Traffic Code, creating a new section defining wheeled all-terrain vehicles and a new section allowing the operation of wheeled all-terrain vehicles on county roads.
Yes, back in 2013, House Bill 1632 amended the state law where the legislative authority could authorize the all-terrain vehicles to use county roads. You had a briefing from the sheriff, from Sheriff Snaza maybe 3 weeks ago, where he explained that right now the usage occurs on some of the roads anyways, and by taking this particular action, what it's going to be is going to bring in all those ATVs to a certain level of performance. They will be licensed as well as they have to be meeting minimum standards to use the county roads. This particular proposal only allows the use of ATVs on those county roads that have posted 35 miles an hour or below. Nothing about that.
Public hearing
In this
is on the
request is,
27th of November.
Is request
Tuesday.
to set a public hearing for November 27, 2018 at 3 in the afternoon in this room.
Any comments, questions on that?
Nope.
Nope, pretty easy. Moving on to item number 5, which is emergency services, and this is execute a contract for FY18 Homeland Security Grant number E19074.
Yeah, this is the regular acceptance of the Homeland Security Grant, and that is related for emergency preparedness to achieve the national preparedness goals. And also Thurston County is the coordinating agency for the Homeland Security Region 3, which includes Great Harbor, Lewis County, Mason County, Pacific, and Thurston. This particular request is to accept $374,596 and for a period of September 1st, 2018 through December 31st, 2020. And also the proposal is to request for the director to sign the contract and 25% above the dollar amount or any amendments that might be coming this way.
Any comments or
No.
questions?
I have a question. What strings are attached to this federal, or the Homeland Security grant, and why 25% rather than like 15%?
The 25%, let me ask you first
Sure.
the 25%. The 25% is really more to the dollar amount. 15% on the $274,000 may not be too much money per se.
Okay.
So, and that goes back, for instance, when you see contracts, perhaps in the millions, that's when you see the 15%.
Okay.
So
it's more substantial.
It's more about the dollar amount rather than just picking a
Okay.
percentage. Related to any strings attached, that is a large question. And certainly there's a minimum federal criteria that we have to meet. And if you like, I can probably have staff prepare any of the federal criteria this particular grant is required for the county to meet. But at this point, I don't have all that
Okay.
answer for you.
The big one is the burn, like the burn grant, anything that's going to be highly controversial and inflammatory.
I don't believe that this particular grant will be exposed to the Department of Justice requirements. But on the sideline, I'm working with staff to go through all the review of the potential federal grants they might be receiving or having been exposed to that certification from the Department of Justice. So I don't believe this applies, but Kurt is here to answer any questions you may have.
Nice tie, by the way, Kurt.
Thank you. Once again, Kurt Harden, Director of Emergency Services. This grant is 100% federal. Does not have any strings attached that we're aware of that were mentioned in the previous grant. However, it is for Homeland Security related items. 25% must be given to, must be available for law enforcement to utilize. We also have our fire agencies that utilize it, and what they do is they get specialized equipment for rescue, for extraction, for other areas, so for mass casualty incidents. So there are some criteria that are in the grant guidance, but I don't believe it's going to be anything controversial. This is a recurring grant that we typically receive every year.
And is the county sheriff looking at some of this money for specific reasons or purposes?
It's available to law enforcement, and so it's all law enforcement within Thurston County, and I can't speak to what the sheriff may be looking at within their purview, but typically they do apply for their portions of the grant as well as the other law enforcement agencies.
So all county or law enforcement, even the municipalities will
Correct.
benefit.
Correct.
Or
Yes.
could benefit.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, interesting. Is there a percentages breakdown for what they can apply for, or no?
There's a minimum of 25% that has to be set aside for law enforcement. Last year, I believe, we had approximately 45% historically that have been given to law enforcement. So they do get a little bit more than the 25%.
So we apply for the grant,
Correct.
the county,
Correct.
we're accepted or denied,
Correct.
and then the cities apply to us for the grant?
Correct. Parts of it is given for the county government, but it's also law enforcement across the county. So it's a countywide grant. We just facilitate it. And we also are the administrator for the other 4 counties in the Homeland Security region. So the grant money is divided up between the 5 counties and also the administrative costs within Thurston County.
And who's the decider of how much award is given to county versus cities, or how much they receive?
That's the Emergency Management Council of the Thurston County Emergency Management Council, and the municipalities are members of that council as well as the county.
Okay, good, thank you.
Thanks, Kurt.
I can tell you the time.
Any other questions on that? No. I'm going to move on to item number 6, which is from the Public Health and Social Services, and it's to approve a contract with the Salvation Army for emergency shelter operation costs.
So items 6A and 6B are related. And item 6A is you receive a letter from the Salvation Army maybe a couple of weeks ago where they have stated they currently have a significant shortfall in the operating funds, and they may not be able to sustain providing shelter on their current financial situation. So this request was for additional $65,000 to help go through this process, and this is for November 1st, 2018 through August 31st, 2018, which is covers just about the entire season. This particular item is funded by the Homeless Housing Fund. It has no general fund. And related to those 2 items, the City of Olympia might be sending a representative this afternoon. Maybe Mayor Selby will be coming. And the intent of their presence will be to praise the county commissioners as to the steps that you have taken to address homelessness here in the county. As you may recall, as a Board of Health, you passed a resolution declaring homelessness as a crisis. So, and this is some of the steps that you have taken to address that crisis. So I believe the City of Olympia representative will be here to highlight that, and perhaps thank you, the commissioners, to take those actions.
Any comments?
Do you know who that will be?
What I've heard from Steve Hall, the city manager, that perhaps Mayor Selby might be coming.
Okay, and the question I have is, this is for single men and single women. However, nothing is said about children. Do you know anything about that regarding kids? We're talking about investing in kids and such. There's a lot of homeless kids and single women, single men with children. Do you have any idea?
I believe this is the higher need the Salvation Army has at this point. But certainly Gary's here to provide additional information if need be.
Thank you, Gary. And we're all about children and kids.
Gary Aiden, Public Health and Social Services. Family Sports Center gets money for shelters, and we have the cold weather shelter on the Pear Street facility that provides shelter for families. So that's separate from this.
That's separate from
request.
this, okay? This
Yes,
is for single men, women only then?
that is correct.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, any other,
Nope.
anything else? No. You good? So that was, you did 6A and B together?
No, A. No,
Okay, so 6B.
6B.
Okay, is the approved a contract for Interfaith Works with operation costs for the community care center?
Yeah, it's the same as to address some homeless housing issues, and it also comes from the Homeless Housing Fund. As you may be aware, Interfaith Works coordinate with 12 local services providers in the assistance to the community care center, including the Providence Behavioral Health, Sidewalk, the Olympia Free Clinic, the Behavioral Health Resources, Capital Recovery Center, Safe Place, Community Youth Services, Partner in Prevention, Education, Home and Community Services, Community Action Council, Pacific Veterans Primary Care Clinic, and CMAR. And this program serves just about between 100 and 200 individuals on a daily basis. And again, this item also supports the emergency ordinance that you pass as a Board of Health. This will be covered by the Homeless Housing Fund, and also this particular item 6A and 6B really supports the Thurston County Strategic Plan by supporting Initiative 3, which is collaboration with community partners to reduce homelessness and implement Thurston Thrive's housing strategies. So as you may notice, hopefully every item that is going to be coming before you, we will try to tie that to the Thurston County Strategic Plan. So these two items, 6A and 6B, again, are aligned to initiative number 3 of the plan.
Comment?
Yeah, why are they just 10 months in duration rather than a year? Or
Is
something
that-
tied to a fiscal year or something?
I believe that's the high season, the high demand season they have. Yeah.
Okay.
Really, the calendar year may not be
Appropriate.
not relevant.
You had a comment or question on this?
No.
I can't believe I have more to say than Commissioner Edwards.
He's ready.
Oh, okay.
He's
Here
waiting
it
for his
comes.
subject,
he's warming up.
He's gearing up. He's got one he's wanting.
That's like opposite day or something.
He's waiting in the dugout, getting ready to pull him up. So 6A and 6B are good? Okay, 6C is, moving on to 6C, which is the Climate Mitigation Plan, Phase 2, interlocal agreement, and Chris, maybe, or what? There's any questions about it? Because this is going to be with the cities of Lacey, Olympia, and Tumwater in a collaborative way for Phase 2.
Yeah, over a month ago, the Board of County Commissioners passed a resolution establishing some targets in reducing emissions. You passed a resolution in reducing emissions from the 2015 level by 45% by 2030 and by 85% by 2050. The Phase 2, the proposal before you, is going to take the next steps, and again, it's a coordinating effort with the Thurston Regional Council and all the cities and jurisdictions within the Thurston County region. And the end result of Phase 2 will be developing a series of alternatives in which each jurisdiction, depending on the budget and available resources, will take those strategies and start implementing down the road. So Phase 2 will give the opportunity for the county to have a suite of options as to how we can probably start addressing those targets. But again, it will be up to the county to determine how and when those strategies will be implemented.
Okay, any comments or questions?
No.
No.
I have a question, can you come up? Sorry. If you just give an overview of the nexus or the connection in general of the cities in the county with this mitigation plan, it's separate but yet comprehensive in nature. So I know it's kind of a twofer there. So
Great. Yes, this climate mitigation plan is.
Chris, who are you?
Oh, sorry, Chris Hawkins.
There you go.
Program Manager with Thurston County Public
There you
Health
go.
and Social Services.
Sure.
I've been the staff liaison for the county to this climate mitigation planning project, which started this spring with Phase 1 and now is headed into Phase 2. And the cities and county agreed back in the spring to work together in phase one to identify the common targets that County Manager Chavez just relayed to you. And those were already agreed upon. And so phase two is, how do we get there? How do we achieve those targets in a realistic and thorough way?
This is the how.
Exactly. So phase two basically spells out how this process will unfold in the next year and a half. It's envisioned as an 18-month project starting at the start of 2019. The cities and the county would each have representatives among their policymakers to a steering committee that would basically guide this initiative. They would be the decision makers for how recommendations from the climate mitigation plan process are brought forward to the councils and back to the county commission upon completion of the plan. That steering committee will also have access to staff representatives from each jurisdiction, so there will be content expertise among the jurisdictions that will be part of those conversations. There will also be facilitation and guidance from Thurston Regional Planning Council. Mike Burnham has been the project lead. He's here today if you have other questions about TRPC's role. And they would be working with a consultant group that would be contracted with. Again, the steering committee would have some say in how that is packaged and put together for analysis, the options that would be looked at by that consultant team. There would also be a stakeholder group drawn from all across Thurston County to help advise and sort through the various options that there are for achieving those emissions reduction targets. And the steering committee, again, would look at who is going to be included on that steering committee or on the stakeholder group, but that's envisioned as being a very broad and representative group of people from across Thurston County to help make sure that we make the best possible recommendations to bring back to the local jurisdiction's policymakers.
Anything else? Thank you. I just want to know where we're at as far as the community discussion on that. And much
Thank you.
appreciated.
Yes, this has been really a great example of the county stepping up and participating collaboratively with other local governments on an issue of great significance in the community, as I'm sure you've heard, but also one that you've put into the county strategic plan for 2019-2020. So this is addressing that climate stability aspect of things, which is really linked to community health improvement, as well as a whole host of other goals and objectives.
So what's the next step after this?
After this would be that the phase two process would start, because the other jurisdictions have already had this come through at their councils, and I believe all three cities, City of Lacey, Olympia, Tumwater, have already said we want to do this, and so the county would be the last initial partner.
Sure.
There is an opportunity for additional partner local governments to participate in this. But as far as that core partnership of 4 local governments, your decision on this afternoon would be what moves us into phase 2. And I believe it's scheduled to commence in the first part of
Okay, yeah, that's kind of my next question. In a couple of months, you'll come back and give us a back brief.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So the county's share of the cost of this particular effort is $43,750, and that will not be coming from the general fund. We found a different revenue sources to accommodate that. And also this particular action supports the Thurston Strategic Plan Initiative number 9, which supports environmental health and climate stabilization.
Good.
Thank you, Chris, and thanks, Mike Burnham, TRPC, for coming today too. Appreciate it.
All right. Next item we have is item number 7, which is the community planning and economic development. It's the 2018 Open Space Tax Program application decision, and this is the
That's the Lakemore. Yeah.
What?
Back on October 16th, the board agreed to move forward with this particular action. And during the conversation, the board asked a question as to what has been the makeup of this board in the last year. So we have an answer to that. There are 2 new members this year, and 4 members have remained since 2017. There's a 7th position that's currently vacant. So that is the makeup of this particular board. Also, this particular action, as you may see, since the recommendation from the Planning Commission was as presented, open space plus some recreation use, this particular action states that for the board, chair of the board to sign this particular open space application after county staff has verified the recreation use has been in place. So that is a little bit of a nuisance, because as you know, they have a tax benefit by putting an open space application, and at this point, making sure they have the recreational components. It is part of the action that you may consider taking this afternoon.
Any comments, questions?
Just for verification, and apparently there was no additional tax burden going to be put on these properties. Is that my understanding?
So the open space application, they have a break that's particular property and the property tax. But the taxing district doesn't lose any money, because that the break this particular property may have, or the property owner may have, that break is distributed among all the property owners on the taxing district.
Do we have the amount that it might affect, say, a $300,000 home? Do we have that?
That's tough. That's tough to get to.
Well, no, I mean, I'm just trying to figure out.
We have that, but you can't answer that here right now.
That's the assessor.
Yeah, we'll have to. You can get that. I used to get that 3 or 4 years ago. Asked that same question.
I mean, it's
but
not going to be excessive, is it? I'm
No.
trying to get a feeling for it.
It's not.
I don't want to classify it as de minimis, but it's not significant.
Which is a good question. You should see that. It's kind of
Because
unique how that works.
the question is how many properties are located on the taxing district, and the distribution of this break amongst all the. So and that becomes a little bit difficult to answer today.
And I guess just maybe on a follow-up on that, the taxing district that is affected is actually a larger area than just this particular community that's asking for this change. Is that right?
That is correct.
So the surrounding area is going to get no benefit because it's restricted to only those people that live within the Ken Lake area.
Just the recreation component, but it's no any different than any other open space application the board has approved.
Okay.
So the conditions don't change. The only condition that you have that is different from previous open space application the board has approved is the recreational component. But the open space break on the property tax is across the county, whomever meets the criteria of the open space.
You have a question?
Yeah, since Commissioner Edwards brought it up about the surrounding area that's included in this tax assessment,
Never seen that.
receiving no benefit. I was at a previous briefing. Everybody's taxes will decrease because of this. I thought that was a benefit that was derived because of the open space rule. I thought I'd heard that at some point in a briefing.
This thing continues to be as clear as mud.
Hello, Andrew. Introduce yourself first.
morning.
Andrew DeFovis, Community Planning and Economic Development. So in this instance, this property is currently enrolled in the open space tax program. Based on its current classification, it's receiving a 70% tax reduction. Under the new proposal, it's only going to receive a 50% tax reduction. So therefore, going forward, the taxes on that specific parcel relative to open space component will increase and will decrease for other property owners in that tax code area. And as you've been discussing, that's a very complicated and nuanced conversation, and there are several other factors that affect property taxes every year. Open space is not even the only exemption from property tax that affects property taxes.
So not just within Lakemore, but the surrounding area that's in that zone, taxes will decrease a bit because of this?
Yes, they will.
I knew I heard that somewhere. So there is a benefit.
Right.
Besides they can't access it.
Yeah, but keep in mind that the parcel that is in question here is actually in a separate tax code area from the neighborhood of Lakemore itself. So, but all the other property owners within the tax code area that parcel is situated in, their taxes theoretically go down because more tax will be collected from the property owner if this application is approved.
Very unique.
Thank you. I have one more. The last line of this action says the open space taxation agreement, once recreational use has been verified by the county. What's the ETA of that?
I would think that we can do that pretty quickly. As far as I understand, the trail has actually been installed or largely installed. It is not yet open to their residents. And so what we've indicated to them in order to to not breach their current open space tax agreement would be to go ahead and get it ready, but not to open it until we can come out and verify it. So I think it will be a pretty quick turnaround. They've been very excited to get it open. So all we need to do is go out and look and see. It appears to be operational as a trail. You know, there's signage and things like that. It appears to be a recreational amenity for this community, similar to what else they already had out there.
Well, but pretty quick is too broad for me.
Oh.
What does that mean?
I can try to have more information for you by 2 o'clock today, but I would think on the order of, you know, days to weeks, days to a few
Okay, so
weeks.
not 6 months or a year.
No, I don't think so.
Days or weeks, okay.
Right, that's my anticipation.
Beautiful,
But
thank you.
I'll try to reach out to them before this afternoon. Maybe I can get a better answer for you.
Thank you, Andy.
Any other question? No. All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
You bet. So that concludes, unless there's any other comments or questions from anybody in the room, looking around. Okay, so that concludes for today, October 30th, today's agenda.
We have a 3 o'clock public hearing. That is on the 6-year
I see
Transportation Improvement Program.
My bad, you're absolutely right.
And you also have a 5:30 public hearing where you consider testimony on renewal of the interim marijuana regulation.
Okay, that's just public hearing today on the marijuana regulation, and I guess what the question could be asked now and today later on is, when is the last day to be able to make that decision? In November?
I think it's coming up November. What is November 1?
So I don't want to go past that.
Right, Commissioners. Jeremy Davis, Community Planning and Economic Development.
Yeah.
So the current interim regulations expire on November 8th, so we'd have to make the decision today or next week, next Tuesday.
Before the 8th.
Yes, but before the 8th.
That was on Cairo News this morning, too.
I heard that.
Yeah.
So.
And depending on the public testimony that you may receive this afternoon, you have the option to approve the ordinance this afternoon if you see fit. So, and that's part of your options provided today.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to move on to the next agenda for the BOCC, the Board of County Commissioners, which is November 6th. And I'll go through that agenda and then we'll take a break. And so on November 6th, call the meeting to order at 2 o'clock. Ask Commissioner Edwards to conduct the Pledge of Allegiance, approve the agenda at that time, and any minutes from the 30 October board meeting minutes. Then we have one presentation. This is from Superior Court. It's Adoption Day. And I think we have...
You have a draft proclamation for your review.
We love Adoption Day.
And Superior Court will be coming and give a presentation as to what this Adoption Day proclamation is all about.
Sure. And if you've never been to Adoption Day over there at Superior Court, it is absolutely phenomenal to see that happen. It'll bring tears to your eyes, I promise you. Been there. So I invite anybody to go over. And what day is Adoption Day over there?
Can we go?
Yeah.
Is it the 15th?
The 15th of November?
15th November, let me see.
Yeah. I think that's
November
the
15th.
national-
Yeah.
Okay. Super.
Oh, we're at that dadgum conference or something, are we?
No.
Yes.
Yeah.
All righty. We're going to move on to the opportunity for the public to address the board. And if there's anything by now, no. Okay. And then how about the county manager's update?
If you receive a public testimony, then it's a follow-up. I will follow up next week based on today's testimony.
Sure. I'm going to go to consent items, which we have A through D on the 6th of November. And the first one is with the sheriff's office again. It's a one-year lease extension at the Beshart Investments, where the county sheriff office is, for amount of $3,600. Is this the one in Tumwater?
This is located in Lacey, actually.
Lacey, okay, yeah.
This is for,
I almost said,
300 square feet. The sheriff's office maintains an office on the 8410 30th Avenue Northeast. And this is $300 per month. Includes utilities for a total cost of $3,600 a year. And this is really as part of their strategy as to how they provide services, patrol operations, particularly to cover the East County.
I guess I'd mention if they get utilities, they get a pretty good deal.
Yep.
Yeah,
Including utilities.
What are you going to say? No.
Yeah.
I was gonna say,
You're going to do it in the dark. Okay, so any questions on 3A?
Nope.
3B is similar in that it's a one-year lease extension on the West Thurston Regional Fire Authority in Rochester area for the Sheriff's Office for the amount of $2,400.
This is a 120 square feet office the Sheriff's Office maintained down in 18720 Sergeant Road in the Rochester area. Also, the $200 a month include utilities. And also that supports to the west side of the county patrol operations.
Any comments, questions on that?
Nope.
Okay, moving on to 3C, Emergency Services. Burke Consulting Incorporation, a contract for the Emergency Services Survey. It's a survey, huh?
Yeah, this is a request to amend the current contract we have with Burke Consulting. As you may recall, Burke was the consultant to help us on developing the Thurston County Strategic Plan. And this particular request is to start implementing initiative number 5 of the county's strategic plan, which is strengthening emergency medical services provided countywide by Medic One in areas and hospitals. Medic One has decided they need to go through an actual survey to determine how that initiative will be implemented, and the $21,000 will be to hire the services of our consulting, and will be covered by Medic One. No general fund involved.
Survey. Do you know what the purpose of the survey is, or did you say that and I missed it?
Is to start implementing initiative number 5 of the Thurston County Strategic Plan.
Okay.
Which is what?
Yeah.
Initiative number 5 is to strengthen emergency medical services provided countywide by Medic One in area hospitals.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
At least I know that. All right. Any comment? Nope. Nope. Good.
Nope.
3D is the auditor's financial services, which you can find on the web. So I'll move to department items, which is number 4. Public Works is the first one, and it's a resolution and call for seal bids for Delphi Road upgrade Phase 3 at the 62nd Avenue Southwest to the 32nd Avenue Southwest, project number 61451.
Yeah, this is a request by Public Works for the board to authorize the county engineer to select bids for the reconstruction of Delphi Road on the limits you stated, Commissioner, 62nd Avenue Southeast to 32nd Avenue Southeast. This particular project is funded in portion by the County Road Administration Board grant by $1.7 million, and the matching funds will be done by the road fund as well. This project supports the Thurston County Strategic Plan Initiative number 7, which states balanced development with the preservation of the county's rural character, natural areas, and open spaces.
Any comments? No?
Is there sufficient funding in the remainder in the road fund?
Yeah, it's part of the current
You haven't taken out of
budget.
it yet.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, moving on to item number 5, which is
Sufficient funds for now.
Currently.
I needed to add that.
number 5, which is the Community Planning and Economic Development. It's to set a public hearing for annual update, Chapter 6 of the Thurston County Comprehensive Plan, the 2018-2023 Capital Facilities Plan.
This is part of the budget development process for the 2019-2020 biennial budget, where you need to hold a public hearing related to Chapter 6 of the Thurston County Comprehensive Plan for the Capital Facilities Plan. The board reviewed this plan in September 2018. The Planning Commission held a public hearing September 19, 2018. And as a result of the public hearing, they have recommended approval as stated. And again, this request is tied to the budget steps that we need to take in terms of so many different public hearings. And this request is the public hearing is set for December 3rd, 2018 at 6 in the afternoon. On December 5th and December 4th, you may recall there will be many public hearings related to the budget, and this is the first one to set.
Okay.
Any comments? This is a good thing. Very, very good thing. Okay, item number 6 is from Public Health and Social Services, and it's for an approval of Nurse Family Partnership National Service Office Incentive Fund Agreement.
Yeah, this agreement is for the period of October 1st, 2018 through September 30th, 2021 for the amount of $927,000 to support the expansion of the Nurse Family Partnership Program. These funds will allow community health nurses to deliver home visits to eligible mothers, children in Thurston, Mason, and Lewis counties. These services are meets two strategies in the Thurston County Strategic Plan. Initiative number 1, which is to improve health outcomes for all, and initiative number 2, which is improve the community health, wellness, and safety.
Yeah, I'm fine. No, this is great. Thank you.
Yep, not a problem. So 7, we're going to move on to number 7, which is the commissioners and county managers items. This is setting a date for public hearing on revenue sources for the 2019-2020 budget.
Yeah, this is, and again, one of the many public hearings that you need to hold in terms of for the proposed budget. This particular request is to set a public hearing for November 27th, 2018 at 3 in the afternoon in this room for you to hear public testimony on the proposed revenues associated with the 2019-2020 budget. It's just the revenue component of the budget.
You good with that date?
Oh, yeah.
You good with that date?
It's a Tuesday, isn't it?
Yes, it's a
Yeah,
Tuesday.
You're good with it, okay.
Not Thanksgiving.
7B is set a public hearing for the budget amendment of number 7 for the 2017-2018 biennial budget.
And this will be the last
current
budget
one.
amendment for the current biennial budget, 2017-2018. And the request is to set the public hearing for November 27, 2018 at 3 in the afternoon.
I'm going to do this
And
next.
that will be the last
After the
amendment
break.
of this process.
Any comments? Question?
Nope.
All righty. Any questions on November 6th for the Board of County Commissioners portion, this agenda for anybody in the room? Nope. We're going to move on to Board of Health and cover that, and then we'll take a break. So on November 6th, approximately 3:30, call the meeting to order for the Board of Health, and we'll make a motion to approve the agenda. And then we have a proclamation that day. And Shelley and Lydia are here to talk about it. Can you give a little bit of background on November is Movember?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And you have different color mustaches this year?
Yes, you will have mustaches again this year.
Okay, good. Well,
But
everything's good.
I really
Now-
recommend that you grow them.
Oh, that's what he's trying to do. Yeah, I see that now. Okay.
I've started.
You
my
will
wife's
no-
chagrin.
I think you will notice my attempt in December.
Well, give a little bit of background about Movember and what that means, if you can, men's health and what have you.
Sure, just real briefly.
Yeah.
November is Men's Health Awareness Month, particularly around cancers for men. So we will have Jacob again this year with us from the Men's Breast Cancer Coalition, who will be here to share with you. And if you recall from last year,
Oh,
he's a
Jacob
very-
Bryson, yeah. Mhm.
Yes, Jacob Bryson.
Mhm.
He's a very energetic and passionate
Yes.
person about men's cancer prevention. And so we will be asking you to proclaim November as Movember in Thurston County to raise awareness about men's health and prevention of men's cancers.
Sure. Do you remember, Jacob, any questions or anything like that?
No.
Nope.
I did some reading on this over the weekend, trying to convince my wife it's a thing for me to do.
The mustache?
And I read that it started in Australia as a suicide prevention for men's suicide, but then it turned into, it evolved rather, into cancer awareness as well. Do you have any information on that?
I'm sorry, I don't, sir.
Okay.
I can do more
I'm
research
just
for
helping
you.
you build
though.
my case in case she's watching. Thank you.
All righty, so we'll move on to the other items, which is item number 3, for the opportunity for the public to address the Board of Health. Any items of issue, anybody? No?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, we'll move on to item number 4, which is the department items. And the first one I'm going to have is the Thurston Thrives update. It's an area of emphasis. And is Liz and Crosby going to do it?
Yes, Crosby will be here, and she has a brief 4-slide PowerPoint for you just to share update on Thurston Thrives Coordinating Council and the areas of emphasis that have
okay.
been selected, which include children and families, economy, and housing.
Oh, those 3 areas.
Yes.
All right, any questions on that? That's most of the informational there.
No.
Any comments? And then we're going to move on to item number 5, which is a department item, and there's a motion for this one. So we have approval for a joint plan of responsibility agreement with the Washington Department of Health for water recreation facilities. And Sammy will be here to give background on that.
Yes.
Can you elaborate a little bit on what that means as far as the water recreation facilities?
One of our responsibilities at Thurston County Public Health and Social Services is inspecting and monitoring water recreation facilities. So that's things like public swimming pools to ensure that they are safe. And there's various activities associated with that, including when someone constructs a swimming pool, our role in inspecting that for safety, as well as if there's any incidents such as drownings or things like that we inspect in addition to the water and safety. And so this is not a financial agreement.
No.
This just describes and further expands upon the statutory requirements for public health and Department of Health in our inspection of water recreation facilities.
Plan of responsibility out to 2025, huh? Any comments or questions? No. How about you? No. We're good with that one. So that covers number 6. Correction, number 5. Number 6 is the approval of an amendment number 1 to Lewis County Health Officer Services contract for 2019 services. And this is our county health officer.
Yes. For our county health officer, we contract with Lewis County to provide health officer services to Lewis County 1 day a week. So our health officer, Dr. Rachel Wood, 1 day a week provides services to Lewis County. Lewis County contracts with us, and in turn, Thurston County pays the salary and benefits and travel costs for the health officer, and Lewis County reimburses us for their cost share portion. Each year we evaluate that based upon anticipated increased staffing costs and confirm with the Lewis County Board of Health that they wish to continue and enter into this agreement. And I've spoken with the director of Lewis County, and they do desire this. And this is effective in January, and this year we're trying to get ahead of it a little bit.
Oh, okay. Any comments? Questions?
Not at this point, no.
No? Okay. And number 7 is the Board of Health to be able to speak. And then we have director's report, your report.
Yes.
And then have Dr. Wood give her report.
Yes.
Yep. And
So that will be in here, the Dr. Woods' report?
yeah, flip the page.
And I believe you requested
Ta-da.
for Dr. Wood to give you some perspective on let me see, I can't remember the technical name, but it's the paralyzing virus that's affecting children across the
Yeah,
country.
thank you.
What is the name?
Acute flaccid myelitis.
Yep.
Yep, that's what it
How do you
is.
spell that?
I had that written down. I didn't see that on the next page, so I was hoping you'd be addressing that stuff and other junk,
Okay.
important junk.
Any comments or questions about the Board of Health on the 6th of November?
No.
Anything from
Nope.
you? Any other items? Either Romero, anybody?
Thank you very much.
All righty, that's the Board of Health for 6th November at 3:30 p.m. So with that in mind, we're going to take a break. It's 10 o'clock now and come back about 10:10, 10:12, something like that.
So you have to go.
Okay, you ready? Okay, so we're back at the Board of County Commissioners agenda setting work session prior to our 2 o'clock Board of County Commissioners this afternoon. And we're on the master calendar, or the master agenda, sorry, as far as proclamations and awards, and then we'll go to briefing and public hearing decisions pending. So do we have any proclamations or awards we need to address right now, or is that something we can?
No, I believe you already looked at the proclamations that might be coming up.
Alrighty, so we'll move on to the briefing and public hearing decisions pending, and then the first one we have is the Thurston Conservation District rates, charges, and public hearing, that we had a public hearing on the 25th of December, 25th of September, sorry.
25th of September, and let me give you a little bit of background for the public's benefit. The Thurston Conservation District gets funding from the property tax. And back in 2000, and at the end of 2016, the 10-year funding strategy lapsed. At the end of 2017, I'm sorry. So they went through the process of hiring a consultant to determine rates and charges as a ways to fund their programs and projects. Back in 2017, the process is the Thurston Conservation District Board of Supervisors need to pass a resolution, and that resolution needed to come to the Board of County Commissioners for approval of the rates and charges, because the legislative authority, you, is the only one who can establish any fees, taxations, and rates and charges on the citizens of the county. In 2017, there were a couple missteps in terms of involving the public, and at that point just didn't have enough time to resolve the issues, and the Thurston Conservation District went on without any funding in 2018. Moving forward to 2018, the Board of Supervisors passed another resolution recommending the Board of County Commissioners to approve rates and charges to begin in 2019 for a period of 5 years. That is the proposal before you. And they have met all the public engagement requirements. Your prosecuting attorney, Elizabeth Petrus, have been looking at that issue, and that is why the proposal is before you. Also, you hear a public testimony on September 25th, which it was pretty significant in terms of overall. You had close to 200 written in public testimony. Out of the 200, about 5 were opposed to the rates and charges, and about 190 or so were in support of the rates and charges. As of late, you receive an additional 15 postcards in this past week, in which this postcard, the majority, all of them, in fact, urges the Board of County Commissioners to approve the rates and charges. There is a timeline associated with this matter. I presented to you last week a letter from the treasurers, the county treasurers, in which they would like to begin, if the board approves this particular funding strategy of the raising charges, they need to start the process in November 16th of this year.
November 16th?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and that's what we have come to you, hopefully, for you to make a decision one way or the other today. And if the board decides to go ahead and implement the rates and charges, I will bring a formal AIS for you to take a formal action on November 6th, which is next Tuesday. So at this point, I'm asking the commissioners 2 decision points, if I may. The first decision point will be, will you be supportive of implementing rates and charges? That will be question number 1. And question number 2 will be for how long? The current proposal is for 5 years. So I would like to entertain the commissioners' vote, and first on the proposal to support rates and charges, and the second decision point will be for how long. Any questions?
I'm gonna start with him first. Okay.
A 5-year proposal with the proviso or the caveat that they would come back and report on a regular basis.
Yeah, as part of the resolution, there is a memorandum of understanding between the Thurston Conservation District and Thurston County, since there's 2 different entities, where the Thurston Conservation District will come to the board and report on a periodic basis how they are managing their programs, how they're managing the rates and charges, and how they are managing the overall administrative aspects of the board. So, and that is part of the proposed resolution.
Does it spell out? Because I don't remember. I remember reading it, but I don't remember what the time frame was. You say periodic. Is it once a month? I mean, once a year, twice a year, for 5 years?
Yeah, let me give you the, so let me read this for you. The program reporting, the report shall include, but not limited to, the following information: a description of work performed during the period and progress made to date, including expenditure data, monitoring data, or performance indicators that reflect expenditures set forth in Appendix D, which is the rates and charges, resources conservation spending plan, and estimated revenues. Description of any adverse conditions that have affected the program objectives and/or time schedules and actions taken to resolve these issues. An accounting of the revenues compared with expenditures for the current reporting period and as projected for the next reporting period. Annual reports are due May 15 and shall cover the previous calendar year. Current year program expenditures reports are due May 15 and November 15 of each year for collections of rates and charges. And that does not preclude the county to ask the Thurston Conservation District to come and report to you on a more periodic basis.
Okay. Because one thing I learned in my career in law enforcement is you don't rush to judgment. And I think we've taken considerable time through this. In fact, that what you just read wasn't even, I don't think it was considered when we first started talking about this issue a long time ago. And I don't want to escape responsibility tomorrow by evading the issue today. But so that's we've come a long way. So thank you for that.
So this MOU, I think, is an attempt to address some of the concerns some of the board members had in terms of how the administrative activities have been occurred on the Thurston Conservation District. And again, this is just an attempt to address some of the concerns.
Thank you.
You have a couple of questions?
Yeah, follow up on what you just covered just now. Do we have any legal authority over the Board of Supervisors at the Thurston Conservation District to require any of these issues that you've laid out?
You don't have any legal you do not have. However, that is the purpose of having this MOU, is you just agree between the two jurisdictions.
What happens if the MOU is not followed?
Adhered to?
Adhered to.
If the MOU is not followed, then that will be the basis in which the board may consider renewing the rates and charges in the future.
In the future. But there is no way to revoke that renewal. If we give them 5 years, there is no way to revoke that period of time. So they're going to be collecting millions of dollars over that 5-year period, and possibly with no oversight from this board.
So you will not be able to rescind that taxation. Yeah.
That's not a possibility at all to rescind?
No.
Your kid admitted it to that point, didn't he?
I've looked at this issue, and I don't think that you can, if you, as Romero said, you have two choices of whether to approve and for how long. But once those decisions are made, there's no authority in the statute to.
Start all over.
And start all over. Who are you? Who are you first?
Elizabeth Petridge, Deputy Prosecuting Attorney. The question that I'm addressing is whether or not the board can rescind rates and charges previously approved. In my opinion, I don't think you can. I've also checked this, my analysis and opinion with MRSC, which is a agency that provides legal advice to counties and cities as well. And the reasoning behind it is because the statute, you only have such authority as the statute grants you. And under the Conservation District statute, it clearly gives you the authority to approve or not approve rates and charges, modify rates and charges, and set the time limit for rates and charges. But it does not provide you authority later on down the road to say, oh, we don't like what you're doing, we're going to pull that back. And that's also implicit in the statute because you do not have any authority to direct how the Conservation District performs their duties under the statute as well. But you do have a choice, a clear choice, statutory choice to limit the duration of the rates and charges if you're concerned about what's going on with whatever. You have the ability to do a approval.
You have others?
Yes. So I maybe would address this to council. So we could give a 1-year approval of
Correct.
rates and charges. Is that
Yeah.
right? Okay. I do have some concerns with ordinance, this ordinance 2018. I do have some concerns with the rates and charges, the schedule of charges. I can get into maybe some of them are typographical, maybe some of them are oversight. On this particular ordinance, it does give a 5-year period on the first page of the ordinance, if anybody's looking. Also, about the second whereas down, I'm not aware about Yelm, Rainier, and Tenino. I think those are issues that maybe need to be looked into. Yelm was the original city limits when the town was formed way back when, and I'm not sure Bucota is covered, and Tenino and Rainier. So those are a couple of issues. We get over on the second page and the third whereas down. Basically what we're doing is we are hoping that this will be successful. Even if we only give them 1 year, we really don't have any authority to make sure that they do the right thing. On page 3, we've got a spelling issue and the date here down on the last whereas. Not that that's a big issue, but it needs to be corrected.
Appreciate it.
Again, down here on section 1 on the bottom of page 3, Rainier, Tenino, and Yelm, and Bucota, I might add. They're trying to promote themselves.
Oh,
down there.
Bucota?
Bucota, yeah. Then if we get down here to on page 5, section 4.
Is she following along with you, or you just?
I don't know. I'm just pointing out some of
Okay,
these
sure.
for the county
Are you pointing out that
I want the
Bucota
county
was not
manager.
included? Is that what you're pointing out?
Yeah.
Bucota was not included?
Right.
Okay.
And Yelm and Rainier and Tenino maybe are, maybe aren't. That's what's up in.
Okay.
It sounds
So is
like.
there a flaw?
Yeah, we don't know for sure the layout.
Okay.
If I may, those are based on the initial limits in which the Thurston Conservation District was established.
Well, I think that
has
the whole
not-
thing
that
just
has
needs
not-
to be
that
clarified.
has not changed.
Yeah, it just needs to be clarified. On section 4, do we have the authority over how they do anything? And that's where the county manager comes in. Exhibit D, I didn't find Exhibit D, but I think it's probably in one of these schedules. And then we get into section 5, and we're talking about a different form of government, I believe. It talks about the county assessor treasurer, and I think that's maybe like a Pierce County form of government that maybe they took some material from there and transcribed that down to here. But we don't have a Thurston County assessor treasurer. I am curious what the acronym ATR means. I assumed the AT means assessor treasurer, but I didn't know what the R was.
Yeah, good catch, Commissioner, yeah.
And ATR is mentioned all the way down through here. So it just makes me wonder what's going on. Then on page 6, again on Exhibit D, I didn't really find that, but maybe it just isn't marked Exhibit D. You have 2 section 7s that are in there, and I'm not sure what that all entails, and another ATR, which I don't know what it's about. But if I had one big concern about this whole thing on the rates and charges, I see that for forestry, they're allowed, everybody else pays $5 per parcel and 10 cents an acre. Forestry pays $3 a parcel and 1 cent an acre. My concern there is, if you look at the timber industry in Thurston County, this whole thing was probably put in place around 1947, the Conservation District was. We're in a different era. In 47, you could recreate on timber properties. There were benefits to giving the timber property breaks. It was big money, part of the activity of our community. Now you have to pay a $300 fee to even access some of this timber, well, I think most of this timber property. And they are probably the biggest pollutant of nitrogen into our water. Water quality is a big issue now. They're putting more nitrogen in the water now than any of the farmers or homeowners or individuals that are allowing their animals to drink out of the water running into some of our waterways. So I don't understand the big break, and I don't know that we have to buy off on that. I think everybody should be treated the same. I think they'll benefit from the things that are offered by the Conservation
So that is a
Commission.
rate scheduling flaw?
Yes, I'd say it's a rate
Are you
scheduling
referring
flaw.
to this?
Yes, I am,
rate,
sir.
rate schedule? Okay.
Yes. Anyway, I really think we need to have a follow-up work session on not only these discrepancies, but maybe this in depth. About 2 weeks ago, we got this information. A lot of it I had not seen prior to 2 weeks ago. And I know we hadn't discussed it prior to 2 weeks ago. I had some time to go over this. I'm just picking out a few things that I happened to notice as I was trying to read this over and make sense of it. Now, we've still got the issue of the State Conservation Board trying to dismiss 2 whistleblowers that are bringing attention to some discrepancies that's been going on at the Conservation District for a lot of years. If you really look back, we've had problems for the last 20 years with our Thurston Conservation District. And I really think we need to get some of it straightened out. I hate to see whistleblowers dismissed. I believe the state of Washington has coverage for whistleblowers. I don't know that the State Conservation Commission is considering that. We've got some litigation pending. The last litigation, the person bringing that litigation won $25,000. It was just a pittance of what it could have been. Now we've got federal court involved, the Superior Court involved again. I just think rushing into it is would be just not good oversight of what this board might be able to impose to get the job right. So answer any other questions anybody might have about my particular concerns, but just the most recent example, I've talked with VSP board members this week, this past week, and they were very upset with performance from the Conservation District. Just as an example, at the last meeting, there was supposed to be a conservation person from Grays Harbor County that was going to see about contracting for the farm plans under the VSP proposal. That person apparently wasn't contacted by the Conservation District, so they didn't show. There was some questions came up about some expenditures from that $75,000 pass-through money as to how that money was spent. Apparently, they paid someone with a PayPal account through with a credit card, it just seems like poor procedure, lack of oversight, and I, for one, am not ready to make a decision on this until we get some more things figured out. So that's where I'm at.
You have any questions?
Yeah, first of all,
I appreciate you pointing some of the issues on the resolution, and depending on the board's decision, your attorney and myself will ensure that that resolution addresses all your concerns, and that is our responsibility. So we'll address those questions and we'll clarify any whereases they might be. And Elizabeth and I will work diligently to make sure that that is the case. So I just want to clarify that. So I appreciate the perspective in terms of on the proposed resolution, some of the items that you have found.
Commissioner Edwards brings up excellent points when it comes to spacing and typos. We all have scrutinizing eyes for that. That can be addressed. As for with regard to whistleblowing and protections and internal functions of the Thurston Conservation District, that's not my concern. Maybe it's a concern, but that's not my job. That oversight. He brings up some other issues, not he, but you bring up some other good issues. But I don't believe personally that I'm rushing into this, and I don't want to live with regrets. So a question I have is, if this is not decided today, does this still fit into whenever we do decide again, or decide to decide, or decide not to decide? Does it fit within the treasurer's time frame of getting his job done?
So the letter I submitted to you from the county treasurer, in order for them to implement the raising charges, the process starts on November 16th.
16.
So I guess that is the schedule that we as a staff are working on. And if you decide to implement the raising charges for however long, I will bring an AIS for you to take a formal action next week, which is November 6th. And that meets within the timeline of the county treasurers.
Okay, because I don't want to live with regrets, and I don't want to wish next year that I decided today. That's just not the way I want to operate. I've had sufficient time to ferret through the information. And aside from some of the other nickel-dime things that need to be tightened up, I'm ready to go.
If I may, on the last 2 weeks ago, when you have a similar conversation, there were a couple of questions that you asked for me to follow up. It was when the public hearing the State Conservation District will have to address the two supervisors from the Thurston Conservation District, and that hearing is set for Friday, December 7th, 2018. The way there will not be taken public testimony. However, it will be an opportunity for both parties to state their cases. That's how I understand. There also, you asked me to follow up on what is the pending litigation they have. One pending litigation is against the Thurston Conservation District, and that is related to the OPMA, the Open Publics Act. And the other litigation is against the State Conservation District, and that is related to a civil rights violation. You asked as to when those lawsuits will be settled. I have no way to tell you that. And also you asked me if the state will be reinstating the funding they have taken from the Thurston Conservation District. And I believe that is in the process of being reinstated, which is about $90,000. And that will be coming up on their meeting in November. So those are the questions that I had I'd like to follow up on.
You got follow-ups?
Yeah, I'd just clarify a couple of things. The State Conservation Commission, like you say, did cut funding to our conservation district, recognizing they're a bit dysfunctional. There is no guarantee, though, is my understanding, as to when they will or will not extend the funding back. And I guess under the interlocal agreement between Thurston County, Washington, and the Thurston Conservation District, there's quite a few errors in there. And again, that gets back to maybe, I don't think they're typos, but I think it was a cut and paste proposal, and it refers to the Thurston County assessor treasurer that really has nothing to do with this. I would like to know that ATR, what that acronym stands for. Again, just some spelling errors, I guess, as much as anything that are in this document as well. In talking to some of the board supervisors from the Conservation Board, if we get into page 4 of the interlocal agreement between Thurston County, Washington and the Thurston Conservation District, there's some issues here as far as indemnity and defense and hold harmless, and on these particular issues, the Conservation District has said they'll need some review by their legal counsel because they don't know that they can afford that. Their insurance plan has been drastically adjusted because of this internal turmoil, so they're lacking insurance. That puts the burden maybe over to us, and again, I'm not too willing to accept that responsibility either at this point in time. So just quite a few issues to go over. I think we would be remiss if we did not spend more time. I would like to have a work session on it myself.
Did you get all those?
Yes, I do.
Because we are here to approve rates and the schedule of that. And if he has an issue as a commissioner with rates and scheduling, I would want the executive director to come back and be able to address it in that form. That's the first and foremost legal and judicial way of handling this. So, and then there's some other issues on the table as far as the content of that document and maybe a discussion on the role of the MOU. But that's more for Elizabeth in that sense. But if there is a question of rate and scheduling, then I think it's appropriate to have her come back in a work sessions environment to be able to answer that, because this is what this is really all about. So, can you put that on the calendar?
Yeah, as soon as I can.
Yeah, sure.
So,
Okay.
So my concern from the administrative point of view, I don't know how quickly we can get that in place in order to meet the timelines.
Yeah, sure. But we want to make sure it's answered. But I do have another question in addition to that. So we got that out of the way. We'll do another work session to answer those minor but significant things before the 16th of, for the 13th or the 16th of November. The purpose of the MOU. What is the purpose of the MOU? If, as described by Elizabeth in a legal format, that an entity such as the Thurston Conservation District does not have to adhere to it, and there's a wrongdoing of sorts, and we're not able to do a course correction of some sort. Not trying to extend our authority into any level that's beyond what it is, but if there's an agreement, then there's agreement, and it's outside the purview of the statutory portion of this. So I don't understand what the intent of the MOU would be. Help me out.
So the
I'm for it. Don't get me wrong. I just
the
don't
intent
understand
of the MOU was really to address some of the concerns the board has, at least that I've heard, in terms of how we can put some check and balances on the Thurston Conservation District.
For oversight purposes.
For oversight
Okay,
purposes.
sure.
Because as you stated, Commissioner, it is difficult because the Board of County Commissioners do not have an administrative oversight over the board. It's the Thurston Conservation Board of Supervisors.
I got that.
Is the one who have that administrative board. So I guess the only tool, the mean and method, is to agree on something. They creates or provides the check and balances. And you asked whether if one party negates the roles and responsibilities of any MOU. In this particular case, there is nothing in there. There will be somewhat of
binding,
whether it's financial penalty or any type of consequences if somebody, one of the two parties,
so it's
doesn't
not
meet the
binding.
intent.
It's just
So
informational.
it is because I believe it's complex. The roles they have, the Board of Supervisors, the Thurston Conservation District, and the Board of County Commissioners, and considering the two different elected boards, an MOU is an attempt to work through that.
Okay.
But really, it's not a binding document. That's what we're looking for.
Okay.
That brings up an excellent point, though. The Board of County Commissioners does not have oversight of the Thurston Conservation District, but we can create through...
Administrative oversight.
Okay, but we are
Budgetarily.
creating through an MOU oversight.
No, you're
so
creating.
We're having
You-
them report back. If we don't
you,
like it, then
so
we can...
you agree in terms and conditions. So it's no any different when you have an MOU with the city. So obviously the Board of County Commissioners do not have oversight of the city's operations. But through an MOU, you agree on some of the steps as to how you can work through those issues.
That's a diplomatic approach,
Yeah,
right?
it's really is a way to agree on something and making sure the two parties adhere to those terms and conditions of the MOU. And so in a local agreement, that's a little bit different. A local agreement becomes a little more fundamental in terms of the consequences of not meeting the terms of that local agreement.
So is it being proffered to put in some type of additional oversight or penalty that we can escape from the MOU if we're not happy with what they're doing?
Well, the only penalty that you may have available to you is the duration.
The duration.
Because the other penalty, you cannot rescind that. So that will be the ultimate penalty that you may have on the MOU, but you don't have that option. So it goes back to the time. Whether it's a year, 2 years, or whatever many years the board decides, it will give you enough time whether you see if the Thurston Conservation District is performing well, and at the end of that period, whether it's 1 year or 2 years, then you decide whether you want to continue on or not. And that is really the key.
Anything else? Because not, we're going to ask the executive director to come back, and whoever else comes with her, for her staff to be able to answer these questions, okay? This is what we need. That'll get us a little further down the road for his understanding, so. It is a good community conversation.
So
to
in the
have.
meantime, we'll go through the resolution and clean that up and making sure that all your concerns that Commissioner Edwards had on the resolution. Yeah.
And on the rates and charges, preferential treatment for certain landowners.
What you need
Well,
to kind of give him the background so she can have the question at hand to be able to
on
answer
the rates
it.
and charges, I cannot address that question, Commissioner.
No, but we can ask.
Yeah.
What, I mean, if we're going to give an entity the authority to tax the citizens, potentially millions of dollars are going to be utilized here. I think it behooves us to do it right. That's all I'm saying.
So the proposed rates and charges, that was the result of a study performed by a consultant. And I believe that study, that report was available to you. So yeah, you can ask the executive director, but from my point of view, I cannot answer that question that you have, what is a preferential treatment? I don't have that answer.
Well,
that was the result of study.
When I'm asking the citizens to put up millions of dollars, I do not want to be a rubber stamp because of something that is the way we've always done it. So that's why I'm asking these questions. And all I'm asking for is a reason, because if the reason isn't good enough, then I wouldn't support it. The Conservation District itself has the potential to do excellent work for our community, but we need to get some things ironed out.
So just to clarify, I'm not questioning you, Commissioner.
No, I know.
I'm just trying to address your questions.
Yes,
it will
sir.
be very difficult from my point of view to address those.
So you're going to make contact and get us on the calendar, right?
I'm sorry, it'd benefit me if I knew from what framework about picking properties or parcels that you're talking about.
You want me to? I can explain it to you.
When she gets here, you can do it.
Okay. All right. I can't talk to you before then.
No, the public should know that we're not allowed to talk about this in the back hallway, so.
All right, we're going to move on because I got to get us through the next hour and a half.
All right.
Solid waste contracts.
This is an item, again, that you discussed that on October 16th, and the request for the commissioners is to what procurement process you would like to implement. And staff provided you with 4 options. Option number 1, as stated in your attachment, is the recommended options by staff and your prosecuting attorney to go with a formal request for proposals.
That was option 1 in our work
Like
session?
number 4.
No, just
It was number 4 in the work session, wasn't it?
Well, I'm just giving you option number 1. Either option,
Okay.
in order of priority. just to
Okay.
facilitate the conversation, commissioners. Option number one is the preferred option, and that is to go with a formal request for proposals, in which then we'll select what will be the best vendor to provide the services in the county. Option number two was to extend the existing contract to one vendor. Option number three was to amend the existing contract with just one vendor. And option number three was engage in a direct negotiations with one of the hauling companies certified by the Utilities and Transportation Commission. So any particular questions on any of the options?
Go ahead.
I would opt for that first option that you
A request
presented.
for
I
proposal.
thought it was option 4 in the work session, but I'm going to refer to it as the option recommended by staff.
Thank you.
So that's where I'm at.
I have always fully supported the going out to an RFP, making it equitable. Everybody's transparent. Everybody can play. It's an all skate. Let's make it fair and equitable for everybody.
We've got 2 votes for
And-
that so far.
And
huh?
transparent.
Yeah, RFP.
Okay, so thank you, Commissioner. So we move forward with an RFP. We'll bring an AIS for us to issue an RFP. And again, just to make sure, because this is a very complex contract, the board will be engaged throughout the whole process as we move along before we sign that contract with any vendor. Thank you.
Oh, that felt good.
Alrighty, so we have legislative update and PIO checking. I'm going to skip those just for a second, go to commissioner items and address some of the ones 1 through 6. And we have Capital League, tax title property, 188, integrated management. And so let's go with the treasurer. He has 2 of them there.
Yep.
So let's do 1 and 2, and then we'll go to number 4. So Capital Lake project.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey,
Haven't seen you since 7 o'clock this morning.
I know. They good though, weren't they? Jeff Gadman, Thurston County Treasurer. The first item I have is giving you a report out as the county representative on the Funding and Governance Committee for the Capital Lake Lower Deschutes Watershed Study. Give you a little bit of background. Phase 1 of this project went through, and I don't remember exactly when it ended. It was a couple of years ago. They were, at that point, they needed the legislature to approve some funding to do a full environmental impact statement on the options. And it took until now to get that funding in place. And so now they're ready to move forward with the environmental impact study on the options, the different options that they have. The consultant that was chosen is Floyd Snyder. They are out of Seattle, and we had a meeting on October the 11th of the Funding and Governance Committee to talk about the next steps. Unfortunately, they did not give us this sheet electronically, but I understand you've been given this sheet in black and white because that's the best I could do. That gives you the timeline over what's going to happen between now and the 4th quarter of 2019. They're going through some public hearings right now on scoping, finding out what the public wants to know and what they want studied in this EIS. They're going to study 4 options. First option is to retain the lake. Second option is to completely remove the dam and just let the nature take its course and have the river establish whatever path it needs to. Excuse me. Third option is a hybrid. Can they do some sort of mixture of those 2 options? And then the 4th, of course, is just to do nothing at this point. And that's always going to be one of the options to get studied because you don't know if you have to do anything unless you determine that doing nothing is really bad. So anyway, on this timeline here, I did put a note on here at first, in that second where you see my little handwriting down at the scratch down at the bottom. 1st quarter of 19. They were not going to include the funding and governance work group.
Excuse me, Jeff, is that on this sheet right here? You say you've got some something?
There's
I've got the black and white copy here, I think.
chicken scratch.
I see it.
Okay.
Okay, got it.
And I just want to let you know that that is the end of the public comment period where we're going to hear about what the EIS scoping is going to be like, the environmental impact study. They did decide to go ahead and include the funding and governance work group in that, so we'll have a meeting in early January. The ultimate result of all of this is they hope to issue the draft EIS the first quarter of 2020 with the final environmental impact study issued by the end of they're hoping by the end of 2020, it could go into 2020. The results of the environmental impact study are going to inform the public, inform local leaders, what the next steps could be so that people can make a decision on what they want done with the body of water.
Okay, we go here and
Number 1 is retain, number 4 was do nothing. Is number 1 retain, does that include dredging though? At least dredging the lake?
So yeah, let me clear that. So the first option is to keep the lake and maintain it.
Okay.
The second option is to let the river create whatever it's going to create. Third option is a hybrid. Fourth option is doing nothing and just let.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, and maintain, retain and maintain.
And those are not in any kind of priority order. Those are just the 4 things.
Okay.
just all on the table there. You have something?
During any of this process, have they delved into the cause of the problem that we seem to have at hand today? Are they trying to get to the bottom of the why so that we don't have to do this again 25 years from now? That's kind of where I'm coming from. If we figure it out ahead of time, maybe we can make this last.
So I don't know that they've actually gotten into the root causes of where we're at. I mean, they know Deschutes River washes an incredible amount of sediment downstream. So that's why the lake is filling up. That's why the Port of Olympia has to be dredged every once in a while. The water quality, they used to do more active management of the water quality in the lake. Because of environmental concerns, they backed off on some of that. And so the water quality, there's more algae and such in the lake. And of course that snail, the New Zealand snail, is an invasive species that was brought in on somebody's boat probably. But I don't think that they've done a formal study of exactly what caused us to get where we're at. I think the controversy now, or the study now, is do we want to improve the lake? Do we want to maintain it as a lake, or do we want to remove the dam and allow the river to form its channels and levees?
I guess where I'm going with this is that if we don't figure it out what the problem is, and in my estimation, I'm not a scientist or anything, but we've got contribution to the water that seems to be a priority of industrial nitrogen application in the forest lands and the headwaters of the Deschutes. Thousands of tons of nitrogen get applied to that WIRA 13 area. And then we have that ends up being a nutrient that causes all this growth and algae and detrimental water quality. Nitrogen removes oxygen from the water. We've got a problem of outflow from the lake going by a the sewer system, the lot system. They're telling us we need to spend a couple $100 million to upgrade lot because of too much nitrogen combined on that outflow. So I would definitely like to see the priority be what is the problem before we start. And I don't know if I'm addressing this to you, the public, the county manager, or who, but it's something that I ask citizens regularly, are you aware of nitrogen application from the corporate level? And no, nobody knows anything about it. I do know it's regulated by DNR and Department of Ecology, so I'm not saying anybody's doing anything wrong, but I just want all of this to be part of the equation And my idea of developing good public policy is that we have all the facts before we develop that public policy. So you've sat in on some of those meetings, and I'm just wondering if you've picked up on anything that might get us going that direction. That's all I ask.
Yeah, certainly they're going to be, as part of the environmental impact study, they're going to be looking at the issues with water quality. And, you know, if they find extra elevated levels of nitrogen, they're certainly going to want to know where that's coming from, which will be part of the study. I don't know that they'll go upstream as far as the Bald Hills and figure out exactly what it's coming from, but they'll get an idea, a broad idea of it coming downstream.
You know, all the discussions and meetings that you're partaking in, now the Capitol Lake is considerably more shallow than it ever has been. Has it been discussed, or do you have I don't know if you have the answer or not, Jeff. If they dredged it appropriately to the appropriate depth, would that resolve a lot of the nutrient issue and some of the other issues that are presenting itself?
Well, that will be the purpose of the EIS, of the environmental impact statement, because that's really, I think the.
But is it a theory or presumption that it would?
Well, it will be extremely premature to answer that question to whomever you asked, because, and I did have a little research on what the scope of work is of the EIS, and it does include water resources, earth resources, air quality, plants and animals, energy and natural resources, land and shoreline uses, recreation, aesthetics, transportation, historical and cultural preservation. But one of the key elements they're going to be discussing is going to be the sediment transport and geomorphology of the sediment deposits. And that's really what in looking into what options they could have and the impacts of those options is going to be critical of, I believe, the EIS. They're also going to be looking in terms of the invasive species, the economics, and the sea level rise as a result of climate change.
Yeah.
Perhaps what there is a comment period that ends on November 13. And if you look at the map, the county treasurer provided.
Oh, that map, geographic map.
So the area of the study really is defined what they call is the south basin, the middle basin, the north basin. And that is really confined by the near waters contributing to the lake. It does not include the upper Deschutes, as you stated, Commissioner Edwards. And I think if you may recall when the state came and gave you a briefing on this, it was the same questions as to why not. Why not including the upper Deschutes? Because the upper Deschutes may be contributing to all the elements they're planning to study in the EIS. There could be an option that you may consider for the county to provide comments on those terms, to expand the footprint of the analysis to include the upper Deschutes, to address some of the upper contributions to this issue. But that's a proposal for you.
Okay, so to carry on, so lot is going to be part of the technical work group. So the public has brought up, and this will be incorporated into the EIS, is the sediment, the ecosystem that surrounds that area on the map, and then whatever the cost of the final choice will be.
I guess my concern is that this is pretty short-sighted if they're not willing to look at potential problems. Again, I'm not a scientist. I don't know that commercial application of nitrogen is a problem, but they're telling landowners on a regular basis to be aware of their on-site septic, not to use fertilizer around the water, don't let your animals drink out of the water. Well, if you go into the headwaters, they're actually applying this commercial nitrogen with helicopters, and they put it right in the water. Now, they'll tell you they try to avoid that, and I'm sure they do, but that's not the reality of it. I've watched this happen for the last 50 years, and so I would certainly like to see at least some kind of a work session where we can maybe make a determination as this board that maybe we could write a letter to this group from this board asking them to let's look at the whole problem. Otherwise, we're going to be back here 25 years from now doing exactly the same thing if it truly is a problem. If they just put a blind eye to this, I've lived my whole life on the Deschutes River. I can tell you 50 years ago, there was not the green slimy algae growing all along the upper area of the river that there is today. And this is where there aren't any other activities going on. There's no homes, no ranches. Something's bringing this on. And I've talked to NOAA scientists that are working in the Puget Sound. They say nitrogen is a big issue when they start working from the minute food chain on up. And then we talk about less salmon, and then we have orca that are struggling because they eat salmon. I think it is just unbelievable that we wouldn't look at the total cause that might address the whole well-being of the Puget Sound, to include actually Victoria doesn't have anything to do with Capitol Lake, but they do have something to do with dumping 40 million gallons a day of raw sewage in it that could also affect us.
Okay, let Hutch have a say.
I agree with Commissioner Edwards. If we're not looking at the cause, and it would be wasted money and effort, and a tremendous amount of human effort, by not addressing the basic cause. And I'll use the metaphor of a boat. You're out in the middle of a lake, you've got a bunch of holes in the bottom of the boat. Well, heck, we need a bunch of pumps. Well, unless you fix the holes, it's just going to continue on. So I'm glad we're addressing it in whatever fashion we are, but I hope they look at the actual cause of the issue, not just the lake itself.
So I think part of studying the ecosystem is going to answer some of that. I mean, they're going to know if there's X amount of nitrogen that's entering the lake from upstream, they're going to be able to know if it is a natural source or an unnatural source. You know, the boundaries of this study are basically to answer, do we want, is it best to keep it as a lake? Is it best to let it go back to natural stream? Or is it, you know, better to have something in the middle, or is it better? And they will, at the end of this process, their goal is to put a final recommendation out there. And there is
A preferred alternative, right?
yes, preferred alternative.
That's the
The Floyd Snyder, the environmental group that or the environmental engineers that are doing this study, have pledged to give semi-annual briefings on progress to local legislative authorities. So our group asked if they can make it quarterly. They're going to set quarterly as a goal. They can't guarantee that they have work to do too.
Yeah.
You can track progress. There's a public website, https, all one word, Capitol Lake Watershed EIS .participate.online.
Wow, that's easy. And geomorphology is way cool. Geomorphology is a cool study. Yeah.
And you mentioned nitrates, and there's also a phosphorus issue that is in part of this. So, but in your part of the governance portion of this, and can you just elaborate what that is versus the technical work group? Because I sit on the executive committee, and so if you could just describe what the governance portion of this in about 32 seconds.
So our portion of it is basically, you know, like for instance, they brought in this EIS part, and what they want from us is guidance on how it should be done. They brought out that timeline, and their question was, is this reasonable? Is this how you want this done? And that's how we got the governance work group added to that early January meeting, because we want to be a part of that decision-making process. As opposed to technical, which is looking at the science, which is why Lott got added onto that, which is really good because Lott has done some of the most advanced scientific studies of lower Butt Inlet of anybody else. They've already got the data. So that puts this group that much further ahead in doing the study. You're on the executive group, which is basically administrative oversight of the whole thing.
And what's the intent of the EIS, the Environmental Impact Study?
Is to look at the environmental impacts of any of those 4 alternatives.
Okay. Yeah, you had a question? 'Cause,
Well, I would just like to make sure that we end up with some type of a work session, something that we can look into this fairly quickly, at least so we can write a letter of our concern.
oh, that's where I was going.
That the total causation be at least researched. We don't know what the total causation is,
So-
but if they completely ignore one segment of the upper river, and we know that there's a potential for detrimental activity taking place, I think it behooves us to at least explain our concern in hopes that they'll look into it. Because as far as nitrates do show as nitrates unless they put chemical markers in the nitrates to show where it comes from. So
It has to be part of the problem statement.
Well,
What's causing it, you'd think.
I would hope we could get there.
Yeah.
You have a comment on scoping before 13 November?
Yeah, so November 13 is the last day they can receive comments on the scope of work of the EIS. So that really is as Jeff described, as well as comments on any aspects they'd like to include as part of the study. So my recommendation is, based on what I'm hearing, is for me to draft a letter for your signature, encouraging the state, because the state is the one who's is managing this particular project, to include the upper Deschutes. And because the upper Deschutes is the one perhaps contributing to the water quality of the lake itself. And so I will draft a letter for your review, and hopefully by next Tuesday you will sign it and send it out and meet the November 13th deadline.
Okay, let's do it. Okay, so the next item we have on the agenda is the Tax Title Property Code Amendment. And that's also the treasurer.
Did you change my land?
So this is a follow-up to previous attempts, and the treasurer came to you maybe months ago as to how the county can support for his office to manage all the tax title properties. And so this is a proposal before you to create a new section in the code that will address tax title properties and gives the county treasurer the green light to manage those properties and surplus those properties as he sees fit. So this is really an opportunity for Jeff to walk you through this proposal. And if you feel okay with this proposal, there may be some modifications on the language that needs to be worked out. But the principle is, or the objective is, with this proposal, is to grant the treasurer's office to manage tax title properties, not any other properties in the county. It's just tax title properties. Mm-hmm. And I want to make sure that is clear. And if you agree with this proposal, so the next steps will be to refine, obviously, the language within the code, the proposed code amendments, and then for you to consider setting a public hearing, because it's a code change and requires a public hearing. So,
thank you. So once again, Jeff Gadsden, County Treasurer. And so one of the very first things I found when I got into this office was a list of about 198 tax title properties. What a tax title property is. So if the treasurer has a tax foreclosure on a property, the treasurer goes through a pretty lengthy process. And if the property ends up finally at the tax auction, if it does not receive any successful bids and does not sell, basically nobody gets ownership of it, but the county holds this property in trust for the tax districts. What does that mean? Well, it means that there's questions about what kind of liability the county may or may not have with regards to what happens on the property. There are other counties that have had to pay for cleanup on some of these properties when dumping happens, but basically, I think the primary responsibility is to try to make the taxing districts whole and get these back as taxable property. The history is that the process has been disjointed between the treasurer and the county commissioners and public works and central services over time. What I'm hoping to accomplish with this is to get the oversight for the tax title properties into one department, the treasurer's office. I've got the resources to be able to market these and try to contact adjacent property owners and say, hey, we've got this property, it's a bargain because you can pick it up for back taxes and fees. And I believe that we can reduce the inventory by a significant amount if we're allowed to do this. Some of the properties may never sell. Quite honestly, they're just nothing properties. But I think that there's a lot of them that we have a lot of opportunity. We've gotten rid of some in the last year to the city of Olympia and private property owners. And we've actually gotten quite a few inquiries in the last few months on some of the people who have noticed on maps and such. So I'm really anxious to get this going. As the county manager said, what is proposed here is only to bring the oversight of tax title properties underneath the purview of the treasurer. What it does is puts the sale, potential auction, negotiation on pricing within one department, so it speeds up the process, makes it more efficient. Obviously, the first option is always going to be public auction. That's the way it's stated in our RCW. Although private negotiation is allowed, most of the time the property owner will contact us and say, hey, I want to buy this. Private negotiation is kind of a misnomer because we have a responsibility to the taxing districts to make them as whole as we possibly can. So we're going to try and get as much for each property as we possibly can.
I have a question. You started off with it's disjointed the way it's working now between Public Works and the Commission. And I know we've supported you in the past with moving on with these things. How has the BOCC been what's the word, a stumbling block or something in the way? Because you had to come back and ask each time or something? Or?
Yes, it's not that the board itself has been a stumbling block, it's the process.
Process, okay,
right,
good.
Because there's a lot of back and forth right now between whoever has basically the list, the inventory list. And so, can we sell it for this much? Yes. Okay, then we're going to go back to the process.
Okay.
Because, yeah, it's just the back. Not that any board has ever been an obstacle, it's just
streamlining. It's streamlining the process.
Okay.
That's
and,
really the gist of it.
And you're telling me you have the current resources to handle this?
I do. I absolutely do.
Yes. Okay.
And he's going to make money.
Yeah.
Revenue.
Let's get as many of these
Not a
properties
lot.
back on the tax.
No, I know, not a lot.
Thank you.
Not
Thank you
a
very
lot.
much for taking it on.
So you will see an AIS come in for your consideration to set a public hearing on this. And in the meantime, we'll go through a little bit of a cleanup language on this.
Okay, just let me know.
Yep.
All right, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Jeff.
Okay, we're
Thank
going to
you, Rick.
move to number 4. Number 4, which is the Integrated Emergency Services Management course.
Yeah. This is just a follow-up, as you may recall. The Emergency Services Department applied for a grant to provide training related to the Integrated Emergency Management course. And for some of you who have been here in the past, that training used to be held in Virginia. And there's, and it's not just county employees who go, it's all the representatives from many jurisdictions in the county. So we were fortunate to receive the grant in order to expedite and be more streamlined the process. The trainers are coming to Washington.
Oh, good.
And And so the training is scheduled for February 24th through the 28th, 2019, and attaches some information for you. And that will include, the objective of that training will be emergency recovery plans for schools, jobs, housing, and health. And is the cost of $600 per person, $650 per person, which does not include the training, it just includes the lodging. It's going to be located in Ocean Shores, Washington, and one of the, I think is the big hotel in there. So that by itself is going to, eliminate the cost. And before you is the makeup of some of the county representatives that we have right now on the list, which includes 2 commissioners, and we need to determine which 2 commissioners may attend. The county manager, the assistant county manager, PIO, the prosecuting attorney has 1. We have the health officer, the public health and social services director, environmental health division manager, the CPAID director, public works director, the assessor, and the emergency services director. And that's the makeup of the county representation.
When's the time? What time?
It will be, and again, February 24th through the 28th of 2019, and I believe it's midday on Monday through midday Thursday.
Okay.
And again, this is just the county representation overall. We expect to have close to 90 attendees, which includes Olympia will have some representatives, City of Lacey, City of Tumwater, as well as the fire districts and the school districts. Everybody will send their representatives to this training. It's a worthwhile investment from my perspective, and I just like to bring this to your attention. And Kurt is here to answer any questions you may have on this particular training.
You go ahead.
I guess just for the audience, if nothing else, maybe Kurt could even kind of give us a breakdown. We've had this ongoing training every 6 months, every 4 months?
Twice a year.
Twice a year. So the public knows kind of that we're working our way towards this expenditure and trying to be responsible and getting a plan.
So the county conducts for all the cities, municipalities, county government, et cetera, in the county, twice a year, an executive seminar. The next one's scheduled for December 10th, and that's been leading up to this IEMC, which is the last week in February. Previously, the county, I want to say in 2011, did an IEMC where it was response-oriented. This one is recovery-oriented. And as Ramiro had talked about, this one focuses on health, jobs, housing, and I'm looking at my notes here because I just went out of my head, but schools, jobs, housing, excuse me. And one of the reasons we were looking at that for recovery is for a community to sustain themselves, they have to have a job, they have to be able to live somewhere, and they have to have a school or some way to educate their children. So that's why we're focusing, and then we have health in there as well. So we look at those as the 4 cornerstones for the recovery process.
Thank you.
I have nothing.
Nothing. All right.
It was just information.
Sure,
for your
sure.
commissioners.
Nice
Now we're
tie,
gonna-
by the way.
Number 3, 188th Avenue Southwest closure.
Yep, and Public Works is here, and so let me frame the issue for you. You may recall you received a letter from the chair of the Chehalis Tribe encouraging the county to consider closing 188 Avenue Southwest, and that is the road that leads into their casino. And the reason for that is because DOT has plans to build 2 runabouts, one in Anderson Road and one in Moon Road, the intersections with Highway 12. The argument for the county to consider closure of 188 Avenue Southwest perhaps was eliminate the need to build a runabout on Highway 12 and Moon Road. When you received this letter, you asked the Department of Public Works to go back and have some public outreach and see how the public feels, and perhaps provide a technical perspective as to how this particular request could be before your recommendation or decision. Also, as you may recall, the conversation equated on, when and if you decide to close 188, the elimination of having to build this runabout on Moon Road and Highway 12 could probably be a benefit as to how DOT could contribute to the runabout that we planning to build on Sargent Road and Highway 12. And staff and myself had a meeting yesterday with the Chehalis Drive, some of the local developers as well as DOT, related to the proposed runabout at Highway 12 and the extension of Sargent Road. And the meeting was extremely positive from my perspective, and certainly there is an opportunity to partner as to how we can build that particular roundabout. So a little more convoluted, if you like, I could probably draw on the whiteboard how everything relates to everything that I just described, but here's Scott to walk you through the particular issue.
So what's the bluff on the closure of 188? Bottom line up front.
Bluff in the closure would be that the local community requested the closure of 188th on the west side of Moon Road. We've done community survey to gather input. The overwhelming community response is supporting the proposed closure. Public Works has reviewed that as well, and we also support the closure.
Temporary closure.
This would be a permanent closure.
Okay.
I don't know. That's the first I've heard temporary.
Yeah.
It would have been a permanent closure. That was the request.
So what do you think in temporary?
Oh, I'd have never heard of a permanent closure.
Yeah, the closure itself would likely entail a gate or some other physical barrier across 188th, which then could be open in the event of emergencies. We know the area is prone to flooding. And so in the event of, let's see, the Moon Road potentially being inaccessible due to flooding, the county or the tribe would be able to open up the gate or whatever other structures on 188th to allow access to those properties south of 188th on Moon.
Yeah, you might need to draw this one because I've only seen Anderson be an issue of closure.
Will that be written into the document that creates this closure or whatever, so that we would know that for emergency purposes there are going to be some avenues of escape, if you will? Well, I don't know what it is.
Ingress and egress, yeah, for emergency reasons. You have to have that.
Emergency. I mean, I haven't heard that addressed. That, I'd rather have it be, have it in writing rather than a maybe.
Oh, as far as the tribe accessing?
Well, no, anybody. I mean, as far as who has the authority maybe to open the gate to allow people.
The authority would be limited to either Thurston County or perhaps if we come up with an agreement with the tribe. The tribe already places water on the roadway signs when the roads are flooded.
Sure.
They give us a heads up, they give us a call and say, hey, there's water on the road. They're right there local, they can respond far quicker than we can. So that relationship has been very successful in the past.
Okay.
And this has nothing to do with abdicating or giving up the road to anybody.
This is
rights
just
and
closing the road.
responsibilities.
So the county would still be responsible for maintenance on both sides of the gate. But I should mention that the tribe has, as you're aware, has expressed interest in the county transferring parts of Anderson Road in the past. They've also engaged in informal discussions with staff on whether the county would entertain closing 188 west of Moon, between Moon and Anderson on the west end.
Would there be some mechanism in place, because this undoubtedly will cause confusion for a period of time until people get this all figured out, so that there'll be adequate turnaround area or something to keep from aggravating the citizens that might live, down through there, so they don't have cars pulling in and out.
Oh, you bet. What would have to happen to make this successful is a turnaround at the south end of Moon Road. So we wouldn't get vehicles down there, it would have to accommodate trucks, but any vehicle that would end up going down there would be able to turn around at the south end of Moon Road.
Okay.
I think Ramirez got a excellent depiction of the scenario.
Because he was an engineer, right, or is an engineer,
Just not to scale.
Right? Yeah.
He's got the north arrow
To scale.
Oh, got north.
So just to reference, this is I-5. Highway 12. There's the Grand Mountain area, Old Highway 99. The Old Highway 99, Highway 12 goes all the way past Rochester. And this is Anderson Road. And I believe that's what Commissioner Blake was referring the donation of the Anderson Road as part of the request by the tribe. This is 188. 188 is the one who serves, this is the casino. That's the main access to the casino. This is Moon Road. So the state, in coordination with the Chehalis tribe, had plans to build 2 runabouts, one on Anderson Road and one on Moon Road. Through the process, they determined that because this runabout on Moon Road, the circulation that it goes right now, vehicles come in here, go down Moon Road, they take a right and get to the casino. They don't take the Anderson Road for the most part and go to the casino. This is the main route, the cut through Moon Road. So that is why the proposed runabout was proposed on those 2 intersections. The letter that you receive from the chair of the Chehalis tribe is requesting closing permanently 188 with a cul-de-sac. By doing so, you will eliminate the circulation, and as a result, you eliminate the need of this runabout. So then you force the traffic to come on Anderson Road, this runabout, and get to the casino this way. So with closing this cul-de-sac, with the cul-de-sac permanently, then Moon Road becomes just a local access road. And that is what I think is the intent of this.
Okay, so on Highway 12 at Moon, it would show local access only or not through street, something like that, to prevent people hopefully from
probably
turning
it will
in?
be somewhat of a dead end sign.
Some sign, yeah, dead end or something, yeah.
Because there is other roadways in here. The sign most likely will be a dead end beyond this road in here.
And on the southwest corner of Highway 12 and Anderson, there's Highway 12 and Anderson. Yep, there you go. There's a gas station and Stop and Rob right there, isn't there? Is that owned? Who's that owned by?
By the tribe.
So this will increase traffic right by that facility too.
Well, right now that's what we're planning to do, is improve the circulation.
Yeah.
I guess following up on Commissioner Hutchins' comment about additional traffic, and that's going to be going down Anderson Road. I know for the tribe, there's been a concern about pedestrian safety, I think. So any chance that by eliminating that horrendous cost of that first roundabout, maybe we could get some of that money somehow and do some kind of a sidewalk for the tribe down Anderson? Is there any possibility there?
Their safety concern is south of 188. It's right here. That is the safety concern.
Oh, I thought it was walking out towards the road.
Because right here is the residential area they have, and right here is the community center.
Yeah.
So it's right here is where they have the.
Okay.
And they have already built somewhat of a walkway within their property to address that.
I guess, for my own clarity, would you double check that on Anderson Road? It seems to me, in my conversations with tribal members, they were also concerned about from Highway 12 to 188 on Anderson Road. Just for clarification, I'm not doubting you. I'm just saying I've heard something else.
I'm just giving you my history.
Yeah, could you check on that?
Yeah, we
because
can check it.
I think there's an issue.
And I do believe that the tribe is moving ahead with putting in a shared use path or trail on the west side of Anderson Road, north of 180th. I think that's in construction now, or it's in.
Okay, maybe that's going to address this then.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I know they are going to be building that over our culverts that are under Anderson Road and north of 188th. And certainly another thing to keep in mind too is the roads including Moon, 183rd, Forstrom, and 188, are not necessarily intended for the amount of traffic they're getting. Anderson Road was improved, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago or so, and that road is designed to accommodate the volume of traffic that would be directed there if this closure went into place.
Is there adequate safety for kids on bicycles and such, pedestrians and?
More so than on Forstrom, 183rd, Moon, and
Okay.
188.
And you think now they are addressing some type of a path?
I believe the tribe is
Okay.
moving ahead with that now.
Okay.
Is that Forstrom? That's shoot right there? Yeah,
Yeah,
got it.
that's
Thank you.
Forstrom's the north-south
Yeah.
road.
What,
North-south.
Parallel to Moon, east of Moon. And that connects 183rd.
Yeah, right
this is
there.
183rd.
Oh, there we
yeah.
go. Thank you.
Exactly.
So you also, I'm sorry. go ahead.
So, well, I'll let you finish, but where's the roundabout that's supposed to go from Highway 99?
Yeah,
That's not red colored there.
yeah, I'll yeah, we'll address
When we get
So-
that one, we can talk about road closure for 188. But
So what you're talking about is
First. priority first.
Sergeant Road, and I
Right.
think this is 198, intersecting Old Highway 99.
That's
And there
more
is
of a
a-
problem than anything right
Yeah,
now.
right now there's a plan to have this roundabout built and
When?
improve all this road.
Sure. I'm not opposed to the black
Construction
one.
starts next month.
Okay. Once they get the
By the
shovel in the
time.
ground, we can talk about
And
188.
is that a shared cost, that roundabout?
Nope,
Nope.
it's all the
It's not a
Chicago
shared
Drive.
cost.
Tribe's doing the whole thing.
And
the
they
tribe's
all-
doing everything.
I believe they in the process of awarding the contract, construction contract. They have awarded construction, so it's just
yeah.
moving forward.
So
the
it looks
construction.
favorable, right?
Up,
Done.
done.
That
The-
one,
the-
that one right here.
This construction is not looking back anymore. It's just moving forward.
Well, the black roundabout
So
is in the works.
it's in that's the meeting that
But
I
the
stated
half-colored purple one here is done.
is
Totally done.
That
moved
view.
to construction now.
Okay, I'm
So
being
you will see
I'm being a hard nose on that because that has been a point of contention for a long
So
time.
you will see those improvements likely finished this summer.
Okay.
Ooh,
As a
before the lakes,
result of
yeah.
all of that to the left and right,
So-
not placing blame, it's just the way life has
So
gone.
how this roundabout could probably work to the county's benefit is
Right.
if this closure occurs, there is no need to build this,
Right, I got that one.
this
That's not a problem.
roundabout, and dollars can be redirected to
Sure.
this roundabout to.
And who's picking up the tab for the purple loop? Not
That's where I was going.
one on Highway 99. No, there you go. The roundabout there.
This,
No.
Nope.
The
There.
roundabout. Nope. The other roundabout.
This?
Yes.
Oh.
the Chehalis Drive.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
paying the whole thing.
they're picking that up.
That's what he wanted to know.
Yeah, I got
Chehalis
that.
Drive
Are
pays
they-
for everything.
Go ahead, and they're picking up the improvement
Yep.
on Sergeant?
Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
But
Everything.
the other roundabout at Highway 12 is us?
We're working on a partnership.
Okay, and the one down at Anderson and 12,
That's the state.
that's the state, they're doing that? Okay,
It's a fair deal across the board once we get.
beautiful, okay.
So that's really, the larger picture as to how everything ties
how
together
it's
to
supposed to
this
work.
Yeah,
simple request of, as I see it, of closing
In
180.
45 days.
and Public Works supports it,
Yeah.
county manager supports it,
Yes.
I'm done.
After the roundabout. I'm gonna get my roundabout before I.
So you want to see the roundabout built?
No, I'm not that way.
Oh.
Once it started.
So, yeah. So what
Once
are the
it
next
started.
steps if the commissioners will consider?
Because I don't want to get
closing
started
180?
and stop. That's my fear. Like, oh, something come up, a worm or something in the EIS didn't get done or
No,
whatever.
that's fair.
I don't know.
I think the.
I just want it done.
I think the Chehalis Drive is just committed.
Oh, I think they're committed. I just
As-
something
as-
stopped
as
it.
the
It's a
county
2-year
is
delay or
expecting.
whatever. So that is a huge bone of contention for those people down there, as you know,
Yeah.
for the median and everything.
Well,
You and I.
You and I met with
We
those
have met.
property owners in many occasions. I know.
Right.
I steal my scars from
Yes.
that meeting.
Ah,
That's why I'm hard-nosed about it. So,
well, can you put in, like you mentioned, a temporary closure, could we write up a temporary closure until the roundabout's complete? Or beyond the 50% mark, or?
I just
Yeah,
The
EIS
temporary
is done or
closure, the
something?
188.
Yeah.
No, from my, it has to be a system approach. You can't just temporarily close it until the roundabout is built.
Well, then, can I go with
have
when the
to-
roundabout is done then?
Yeah, we have to build everything at
Would
once.
you support that?
So
When
in
the
terms
roundabout's
of,
done, then close
Well,
188?
I'll support it being closed now, but you want to wait, I'm
just-
okay with waiting until it's
It
done.
is emotionally devastating to a lot of people trying to get around down there to have this. That's why I'm advocating for it.
Yeah.
Or,
Well, I got that.
Yeah.
The
So
roundabout,
the-
I got that, yeah.
so perhaps the next steps is for the county to formally respond to that request of the closure. Perhaps you may support the closure at the time the runabout of Anderson Road in Highway 12 is built.
1,000%.
No, but I'm okay with a temporary closure now, so they get what they want, and it'll be permanent when the roundabout's done, or it won't be.
With all due respect, it doesn't bring value to close right now 188.
Oh, it does not?
Does not bring value.
So might as well get you.
Okay, then.
Because that'll be the access while they're doing the construction.
Right.
Got it,
At
okay.
this point, that doesn't bring
So,
any value to temporary closure.
Go back to your original statement then, would be at the point of the roundabout completed, then we can talk about, then move forward with 188 being closed.
What is supposed is that the county supported perhaps of the closing of 188 at the time when the roundabout of Anderson Road and Highway 12 is built.
Yeah.
Oh, Anderson Road and Highway 12. That far down the road. Oh, my God.
That one.
Wow.
That one?
Yeah.
Once that's complete?
Yeah, because then you'll get a twofer then. That
Yeah.
Oh, there
roundabout
you go,
and that
yeah.
roundabout.
Then
Yeah.
that commitment releases the need to do anything on this one.
So, okay. So you'll get two roundabouts in before the 188 is closed.
So
And no idea when the state's doing that one.
That I have no
Well, it'll
idea.
help the state make a decision.
Yeah,
Good.
it's pretty quick.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
that statement and that commitment
tribe will go to them
will,
and say,
will
Perfect. Is
help
that
the
all right?
state on
Yeah,
moving forward.
yeah, you bet.
Can you just recap?
And they'll be okay with it.
I believe the Chehalis tribe will be welcoming the news.
Good, good.
So,
just recap?
so I will ask Public Works to draft a letter from the commissioners in response to the letter that we received from the chair of the Chehalis tribe. And the letter should state the county is supportive of the proposal to close 188 on a permanent basis in combination with the construction of the runabout at Anderson Road and Highway 12.
How's that?
Excellent.
How's that there, Jennifer? Okay, just making sure. All
All right,
one
thank
on
you.
one team, okay. Sorry to be a snot on
Well, we
that.
got to get through the detail.
All righty. Do we need legislative date and PIO check-in in the next 15 minutes? I'm glad you drew it. Thanks for drawing it. I can see all the purples and greens and blacks and circles. And
I can't.
it's because you got a
Deficient.
because you got a goatee going on. That's why.
Yeah.
All right, PIO.
All right. So just wanted to let everyone know that the
Who are
recording.
you?
Oh, sorry, I'm Megan Porter, Public Information.
Hi, Megan.
The recording of one of the October open house sessions for the Courthouse and Civic Center project is now available on our website at www.thurstoncountywa.gov. We've also added a survey option for citizens to provide their feedback on the project. Reminder that next week we are holding 7 open house sessions. At these sessions, the consulting company, TAS or Thomas Architecture Studios, he's going to have concepts for each of the sites that will show potential layouts of how the buildings would fit on each site. There's going to be 2 layout options for Plum Street, 2 for the Harrison West site, and then 4 or 5 for the Hilltop site. I'm going to list them all off. Sorry, it's going to take a minute, but just want to make sure that anybody who's watching has the information. Tuesday, November 6th at the Lacey Community Center, we will be holding 5 sessions, 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m., 10:30 a.m. to noon, 1:30 p.m. to 3 p.m., 3 p.m. to 4:30 p.m., and 6 to 7:30 p.m. On Wednesday, November 7th at the City of Rainier, we will hold a session from 10:30 a.m. to noon, and then Wednesday, November 7th in the evening from 6 to 7:30 at Rochester High School Commons. We are actually combining that session with the Rochester Grand Mound Planning Shape Your Future Community Workshop. So the citizens don't have to attend 2 different events for the county. They can just attend one. They'll get the information about the Grand Mound planning issues, and as well as be able to provide their input on the courthouse. We've put out social media ads, sent direct email to stakeholders. We've mailed the flyer to the businesses and individuals within half a mile of each of the sites, inviting them to attend an open house. And then we've also worked with our Citizen Advisory Committee to help spread the word. We do expect to see more people, more citizens this round, as opposed to the last round, because we've had much more time to get the information out. We've also held 3 brown bag sessions with our staff. Around 60 staff attended those 3 brown bags, which is pretty good. They were very engaged, and they're really interested in seeing what the next phase is. We will be holding 3 more at the end of November or early December to show them the different layout options for the sites. Okay, and then the legislative one-pager, currently working on drafting that. We'll be talking about that this Thursday at the Commissioners Check-in, so I'll have a draft for everyone to provide their feedback on at that point. That one-pager is for the legislative breakfast in December. And then we're also holding the Hunter Point Fish Passage Project ribbon cutting event tomorrow morning out at Hunter Point.
What time?
Make sure that you bring an umbrella because it's going to rain. And we will be outside.
What time?
The actual event starts at 9:30. In your calendar, it's for travel time. So on your calendar, it's 9 to 11. The event is 9:30 to 10:30.
Okay.
I may have to reschedule the Thursday Commissioner check-in because it seems like a Thursday Conservation District can come and have a conversation with the board this Thursday. But I need to arrange that if that is a possibility.
And if there's not any questions for me, that's all I have.
Any questions of PIO?
No. Quite extensive.
Commissioners, related to the items that you may be considering this afternoon at the Salvation Army and Interfaith Works, Mayor Selby will be coming, and also maybe Councilmember Cooper may be coming as well to provide some comments.
Great.
So
it's perfect.
Maybe during your discussion, you may want to give him the floor when you consider those 2 items this afternoon.
Oh, absolutely.
Good morning, Commissioners. Brian Dominique, Public Information Officer for the board. Social media update. We have 4,262 likes on Facebook right now. That is a 336 growth rate, 336 new likes on Facebook in a 28-day period. So we're doing really good. I think we may hit our 5,000 goal at the end of the year. Twitter's at 4,931. It's looking like we're probably not going to hit 6,000 on Twitter. We'll be somewhere in the ballpark of 5,300 to 5,500. But we will continue to work on it.
There you go.
YouTube's at 103 subscribers. We've already hit our goal for that, so that's great. And then Instagram's at 999, so we need one more follower to hit 1,000. So.
That's you.
The following stories I'm working on. I'm working on a CPED Achievements story in 2018. I'll be handing that out to you guys for review later today. We'll be talking about the HCP, the Building Development Center, code amendments, among other issues. I'm working on a Medical Reserve Corps story. I interviewed Jennifer Dixon last week, and I'll be speaking with a volunteer later on in the next week or 2. Still working on getting that scheduled. Who actually volunteered for Hurricane Florence relief efforts in North Carolina earlier this year. So that'll be really good. And then I covered JBLM Day of Service last week, and then I'll be covering the Hunter Point ribbon cutting tomorrow. Other projects, we've got the PIO annual report in the works. I'll be providing that report to the board on November 21st. And then the Citizen Budget Book. And then I'm also working on the December Thurston County Connection, which will look at opioid addiction and babies. That will be at Commissioner Hutchings. And other than that, that's all I have.
Do we have an appointment set for that yet to talk about it?
No, November 19th. I'm meeting with Kelly on Thursday to brainstorm some ideas that we'll bring forward to you. What's that?
This coming Thursday, you're brainstorming?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You have something? One more Instagram?
One more Instagram follower. We'll probably get it today. So.
I'll get Kelly on it.
All right,
Beautiful.
anything else?
Boards and commissions?
Okay, I'm Labanita Bomar with the Thurston County Commissioners as clerk of the board. Today, the first item on your list is Water Conservancy Board. Inside your packet, you'll see several emails from Jerry Luthane, who is the long-term chair of that board. On the table right now, we have several members, including Jerry Luthane and John Hare, who are requesting to resign from that board, which leaves the board with no members. A couple of the emails that you see in there are from the state auditor's office in the process of eliminating the board as an option. And Romero can go into a little bit more details, possibly. I think the emails kind of outline it pretty well of what's going on. The members that are on it have been, Jerry's been there since 2003.
There is an issue in recruiting citizens to serve in this board, but I believe it is way too premature for the board to consider eliminating this board.
Yeah,
It has
I
been in
wanna-
place for many, many, many years.
Yeah.
So
It's
my
just
recommendation is not even get to that point. I think
It's a
we,
fluke right now.
through your dealings with the community, if you have anybody, a citizen who might be interested, maybe encouraging them to come and join the board. But the option of eliminating this board, I don't think is extremely, extremely premature for you to consider.
Especially in light of the urgency.
Right. So I think this board brings value, and I know that probably some of the existing board members are feeling frustrated because there is not enough volunteers to serve on this board. But I think perhaps we as a county may need to do additional reach out efforts to get some citizens.
There's not a big time commitment on that board?
If any issues come up, none of the board members have submitted a letter of resignation. So I am waiting for that. They don't have any pending, it's my understanding they have no pending issues that are requiring a quorum. This is a 5-member board. In your packet also is a brief outline of the board and their duty.
Is this board's district specific?
It is not.
Okay. Yeah.
And I'll report that back to Mr. Luthane today. The other, we received an application from a Don DeHaan for the Planning Commission, but there are no vacancies at this time with the Planning Commission. You will have some members whose terms will be coming up at the end of the year. So there's that. And do you have any decisions on the Storm and Surface Water Advisory Board for the applicants Clayton Hill or Jeff Johnston?
I see we have a letter from Chris Carlson.
Yes.
I'm okay with that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I am with Chris, yeah. And how many openings do we have there?
Okay, got it.
Pardon me?
How many openings on that one?
Clayton
One.
Hill. Clayton Hill.
Clayton Hill? All 3?
Well, I didn't, you said you were okay with it, I'm sorry.
With Tris. I said, with Tris, I am,
Well,
yeah.
but he submitted letters from that board recommending.
Oh, recommending,
Hill.
okay. But how many members are we trying to fill?
One.
One.
And there's another person that could be coming up next.
Yes.
Jeff something.
Jeff Johnston, okay, yeah, I'm good with Clayton.
Okay, I
Yeah.
will go forward, and I will.
Where'd Dehan go to then?
He's waiting for the planning commission.
Oh, okay. Sure.
Yeah, and there's no opening yet.
Yeah, it'll be
Okay.
a month
Okay.
or so.
I
So that will be
misunderstood.
on the agenda November 6th.
Okay.
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 Not a problem.
And Board of Equalization, are you ready to make a decision regarding Mr. Barnes?
I thought we had it full now.
He's still an alternate.
This is an alternate position?
Yeah.
Did we ever get a call back from Mr. Barnes?
I have not.
No. Did we ever get a call back from Mr. Barnes?
Yes, we did, but I understood, I thought he contacted you and he was out of town or something.
Ruth Elder told me he was on vacation, but that was a month
Yeah,
ago.
he
Okay,
called
well-
and said he was on an extended vacation.
Being it's an alternate, I would ask that it just be hung up, just wait a little bit.
Wait?
Yeah,
That's fine.
Next time around or something.
And that's all the immediate actions that I have today. We do have upcoming expirations, and I will bring that back to your attention next week if we have time.
Okay.
What did we just appoint Clayton Hill to? Storm and surface water?
Storm and
Yeah.
surface water.
Swab.
That's all.
Okay. What else you got?
That's all I have for you, commissioners. The next is commissioner items. So you may have any items that you'd like to discuss.
You need another item?
I don't need another item. I'm good. I'll talk about it at the meeting today.
Okay. How about you?
I do, yeah. I'll wait till he's listening because he's still tied to the Public Works. Yes.
Just one for your information, Robin just reminded me that we got a confirmation from the arbitration related to the road deputies.
Oh.
And the arbitration comes to a 3% increase,
Oh.
which is from the scheme of things, that's a very good news.
Yep. That helps
Good.
a lot.
The issue I want to bring up is the DDI, the Divergent
DDI.
Diamond Interchange in Lacey construction starts tomorrow. I don't know what initial stage, if it's just ground marking with paint or whether they're starting to chipping stuff up. But it's going to impact county transportation in some fashion. Do we have a plan for that?
And
Which-
intercity transit too.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's going to impact a tremendous, the entire community. But is the county, do we have a role in that? Are we on top of that with signs and whatever we need to do?
Well, if there's any detour routes, we coordinate with the state if they are detour routes. And we establish the detour routes as to how that is. At this point, they're not planning to close the interchange. They're
No, no.
And they're will continue to do the work in maintaining the both lanes of traffic open. So in reality, they don't need a detour route to the county, but I think your point of having an impact to the community, absolutely. And how we can probably, the county, gear ourselves in terms of that is just be patient with the additional traffic in county roads. Because really it's not much that we can do in terms of managing the traffic.
I understand
For
that.
individuals who can avoid that.
I just want the community to know that we have an eye in the sky on it and any impacts that might adversely
And in
impact
fact,
our citizens that we're
I was
helping them
going to
out.
send an email to county staff related to this project maybe today, where county staff can get in. There is a link. They can probably see the progress and some of the different stages of construction.
But our roundabout will be done in Rochester before this one's done.
I wouldn't commit to that, Commissioner.
I think the DDI is like a two-year project, 2 years. This is like
That's
a year.
fast. Do a bridge at 2 years?
Yeah.
So,
We hope.
and this is just my point of view from the technical point of view of the DDI. That is going to be a fascinating way as to how to solve traffic
I
conflicts. at
can't
that
wait.
interchange.
And see the first DUI come through there and try to figure it out.
Yeah.
Not hurting anybody. All right. Thank you.
Anything else?
That's it.
Thank you.
All right.
I have a 1:15 to 1:45 appointment with